long. It feels like it's been a month since we've done an episode, and I think it has been. It's been really close. Welcome to Third Man In, everybody. It is 2 men in today. I am Mike Hickey. I am joined by...
It's Chuck.
TR isn't here right now. We were trying... We did the thing where we've been trying to kind of get the three of us together, but schedules have been nuts. We had this state of emergency here in St. John's because of a stupid snowstorm that shut the city down.
That's 10 days there.
That was
10 to 12 days where we were stuck inside.
And just trying to catch up on other things, as well as TR is playing senior hockey still. He got a hat trick last week.
I saw that. Was that it was this week.
No, it was like
Sunday night.
It was Saturday or Sunday. But yeah, so he's playing, so it's just it's really hard for us and because of for our different schedules and stuff like that. I know for me, I've just been swamped playing. It's weird. It was 8 days of a state of emergency, and it feels like I've spent 15 trying to catch up on everything I missed in that 8 days, and it's so weird. But we're here, and we figured, fuck it, we're going to do an episode anyway.
Hello. Welcome back.
So, hello. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you to those of you who stuck around for the last minute after we said DR wasn't here. Because I know, if we look online, the retention rate just drops as soon as we're like, TR's not here today, and everyone bails. We also don't have...
Is there a way for any of these people to watch TR in the senior league online? Do they have any streaming
services? I don't think they stream anything, no. I'm not sure. I think I don't know if some of them might do radio stuff, maybe. I don't know. It depends, but I'm not sure. I should ask him. We should ask him. We should get to the bottom of that.
He's usually here.
Yeah, he's usually here for us to ask, and he'd say no. But yeah. I mean, because senior hockey in the province is been up and down the last couple of years anyway. So it's some consistent stuff.
Tumulus is how I would describe it. I think the
Cataracts and Gander Flyers are having their first game of the year this weekend or something.
Really?
Yeah, because they had a delayed start and all that kind of stuff.
I know TR is in Clarenville, or he's on the way to Clarenville right now as
today,
we speak.
Yeah. I think he was at CBS last night. Clarenville today.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
CBN maybe. I thought it was CBN last night.
One of it.
I think it's the N.
I think it's S.
Was it?
No, CBN. I think you're right. It's
yeah,
CBN.
I thought so. Because I think he got a goal last night too.
I mean, he's lighting it up this year. He's having a real resurgence, and we're happy for him.
Yeah, exactly. He was a bit worried this time last year, I believe.
I don't think he was getting the numbers he wanted, but this year he's coming out in a big way, so I'm happy for him. It's great.
Jason Spezza style.
Oh yeah,
he'd probably be mad if he was sitting right next to me if I compared him to Jason Spezza.
I don't think so.
If anyone was at our live, he probably.
Yeah. So we are here on a Saturday afternoon. Chuck is slurping coffee. He got me a mocha.
I had a sip of that on the way in. I don't know how you put that in your. I don't know how you do that.
I haven't in a long time. It was just for whatever. I already had a coffee this morning, and I was just kind of I want something a little different now. And so you were.
I was just about to put the lid on it, and I was like, this looks intriguing. I was like, I'm going to do it.
It's kind of like half hot chocolate, half coffee.
I found it was a little bit chalky for my taste.
It is a little.
It's a little bit chalky.
This one is, but right. I mean, sometimes you get them, they're a little bit richer, a little nicer. We're not saying where you got it. Because I don't want to badmouth this particular establishment.
The teenager that made that is listening. You fucked up.
Yeah. Man, I thought the rule was we don't chirp teenagers between December 26th or between January 4th and December 26th each year. You just leave the teenagers alone because you yell at them so much in that 2-week window.
Yeah, fair enough.
Man, it's warm down here. Okay, so we are here recording. We are going to talk about some stuff. We don't have a guest today. Again, we just wanted to kind of get one out because it's been so long.
There's a lot to catch up on in the hockey world.
There is, and the longer we go, the longer it is. So we figured we'd do one of those, me and Chuck just talk about a bunch of shit that we don't really have any more authority to talk about than anybody else. But for some reason, you guys listen, so here we are. So a few things have happened. A lot of things have happened since... But we probably should have made a list. We've done that before, where we make a list to go through.
I think we should probably start at the All-Star game, because the last episode we did was leading into All-Star weekend.
I think there was a week. I think we had a week where we were going to talk about the All-Star game next week, and then that never happened.
I watched it all this year. I watched the entire thing. I got to tell you how this went down.
Okay.
So, the All-Star game weekend. Was that during the weekend of the state of emergency, or
it was
after?
I believe it was the Saturday. I think it was the day that the state of emergency was lifted. Was the day of the All-Star game.
Yeah,
because we walked over to a friend's place.
That's when
Friday night.
It was lifted that Saturday because the skills comp was the last night of being kind of barred in. So I was like, well, what else am I possibly going to do? Day 8. What else am I possibly going to do? So I usually watch a little bit of the skills comp every year.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it, and I was entertained from start to finish.
I wasn't entertained from start to finish.
You weren't? When did you drop off?
I didn't. I kind of came and went.
Okay.
I watched the whole thing. With the exception, I think we left here and walked over to a friend's place.
Okay.
And so I missed the walking portion of it, but I don't think I missed much in that sense. There's parts of it that I really enjoy. I thought the women's game was phenomenal.
Yeah, the goaltending in that was the entire time I was watching that. I was like,
I mean, was
there a loophole to get one of these on the Leafs? Like, is there a loophole to get either of these players on the Leafs?
There's no loophole. They could just sign them.
Could they?
There's nothing stopping them.
I'm sure there's something there.
Is there?
I don't. Maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, Manuel Rayón.
Yeah, it was a preseason game though.
Yeah, but it does it's still signing somebody. I don't see how But anyway, not the point. I think it was 2-1. I think was the final of the Canada won, which is great. But then the thing that really bugged me, and it's the thing that always bugs me with the All-Star game, is because they always try to do a bunch of gimmicky shit.
Yeah.
And that shoot from the stands thing.
Oh, you didn't like that?
There was parts of it I enjoyed. A couple things. I thought it was really anticlimactic. Like I thought we were still gonna have something else happened on the ice after
fireworks
that.
And monster truck.
No, but I was still I forgot that they don't do a straight shootout competition. It's just that saves thing, and it's just so there's a couple things like that I kind of was thinking were going to happen and whatever. But to me, I found that particular event, with the way it was set up, where there was the big thing in the middle that was the most points, so obviously that's what everyone's aiming for. It was also set up so you could shoot in it but still miss it somehow. I still don't know what happened to Marner, because as far as I could tell, Marner won.
Yeah,
there was one that went clear in the center, and unless they were showing an unannounced replay on TV, he won the first round.
Well, I think I think a lot of it is the laser technology and stuff.
But that's the thing; it's kind of horseshit. Right, but the thing about it is that, to me, I think. Remember last year or the year before, they've done some really stupid obstacle course or relays or something like that.
Yeah.
To me, that works as part of a relay. It works as part of a team relay, where it starts with a guy shooting from the top, and the guy on the ice can't start to skate until he gets it in a smaller target, and then they go. And it's part of that. That to me could work, but it just was these guys shooting at these fucking giant. It was very obviously the first year they had tried it, and there's a lot of kinks. I thought the accuracy thing with the fucking screen was stupid.
It was so glitchy. We're never going to see that again.
I think Roberto Luongo was the one who tweeted out, it's guys, maybe next year they should try something
like styrofoam.
Just styrofoam targets. Maybe
do
something
they
like that.
Here's something. Do they make styrofoam anymore?
Yeah.
Do they? I haven't seen it in 10 years.
I got styrofoam insulation in the house. There's all kinds. You
okay. I don't know. I haven't seen it in a long time. And I bought a new computer recently, and that's usually the only time I see styrofoam is when it's packaged.
And they use that compressed.
It's it's packaged now with the microfiber stuff,
the egg carton kind of shit.
Well, no, it's it's black and almost old recycled materials compressed together. It's very And I was because I used to hate getting styrofoam because it fucks up a bag, it fucks up a garbage bag. Yeah. it just fucks. Anyway, we're way off bounds.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's what they could be using styrofoam for.
Well, obviously, yes. The big arc was almost like watching a bunch of people drunk trying to play darts in a shed that don't know the rules of darts, so they're just throwing for the bullseye and never. You know what I mean? I was watching and I was like, oh, it's for the it's this is all for the big show of the fans, and it's in St. Louis and the Arches and all this stuff. And I'm like, there's a lot like going to a shed party where there's a dartboard and nobody knows how to play darts. And I'm guilty of doing that. I don't know.
I don't know how to play darts and stuff, but still, it was that. But going back to the accuracy thing again too, I think the the thing that I didn't understand about the accuracy was all they were doing was putting the guy's name up in a thing and his number and how many All-Star games. That's all information you can put on a screen.
Yeah.
And also, if you were going to try to make that, if you were gonna try to make that something kind of fun and use it and
or advertising,
Matthew Tkachuk gets in there and it's Zach Cassian's face comes up on one of the things, shit like that makes it kind of fun. And, there's ways to play around with it if they're moving or whatever. But at the end of the day, the guy in the ECHL All-Star game or AHL All-Star game, No, it was ECHL All-Star Game was where the guy set the record for the accuracy. AHL was where he did it for the slap shot. So the ECHL All-Star Game, the dude did it in like 2.5 seconds.
Wow.
And the thing is to me, that's like the hardest shot, where that's something where if it was just consistent over the years, it'd be fun to keep a record on. Because they keep fucking around with it, they can't do it.
Well, what about...
There's stuff like there's a part of the All-Star Game where like I watch the All-Star Game out of kind of a sense of tradition. And so I would like it if the NHL also felt the same sense of tradition about the fucking All-Star Game.
Here's
I get what they're trying to do, but still. And also,
one of my favorite takes I've gotten, I don't remember who said it to me, but anyway, I was talking to somebody like 2 or 3 days after I'd watched the All-Star Game and the skills comp, and I was like, yeah, I watched the All-Star Game this year, and they just cut me off. They're like, you know what? Stop. I'm not even going to listen to all the things that you that you feel would fix it when it's not your job to fix type thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, dude, you're kind of right, but okay.
Let's acknowledge that that's right 10 minutes into a podcast where we do exactly that.
Yeah, and that's he literally, I don't remember, it might have been my brother. I can't remember who it was. All those storm days just blur into one another.
Oh, yeah. No,
might have been myself in a mirror while like shaving one half of my face.
It's the whole thing is just.
I enjoyed the game though. I enjoyed the actual game. So what happened is the game was Saturday night. I went out to my favorite watering hole that was open for the first night in a while, the Duke of Duckworth.
Yep.
They had the game on the background, and it caught my mind a few times. I said okay, and then Sunday morning I got up super early. I went to my gym, and I went home, and I was like, you know what? I've got nothing to do but prep for a week. So I turned it on and watched like all 4 hours of coverage from start to finish, and I was like, this was actually good.
Yeah, no, it is. I like the 3-on-3 tournament style. I like all that stuff.
I don't like the in the All-Star skills comp, I don't like the goalie format where they're like, hey, it's the shootout breakaway streak.
Yeah.
It's got to be a funner way to get the goalies involved. I would like to see the goalies trying to do some sort of accurate thing with dumping the puck down the ice.
That was one of it. That was one of the things last year when they had that really weird relay. One of them was the goalie goal. There was a target and they had to shoot from the far end. I like that.
I would like to, because it's like, okay, cool, but like, I don't remember who won it. I don't know if it was Freddie or the guy in Washington, Holpe won it, but like.
What, this year?
Yeah, the breakaway thing.
Binner.
Oh, Binner won it, did he? There was one where it was like 4 or 5 shots were wide, and I'm like, does that count?
It
and
does.
I guess it's the only thing the goalie's given them. I guess
that's the thing is any goalie will tell you that you missing the net counts because it means that they didn't
that's
give you any net this year.
Yeah. Geez, goalies would pump their own tires like that. I can't believe it.
Who else's job is to pump their tires?
It's definitely not Roberto Luongo's to pump Tim Thomas's.
It's the other way around.
Was it?
Yeah, it was the other way around.
Roberto Luongo was saying, "I don't hear him pumping my tires."
No, it was.
It was Tim Thomas saying, "I don't hear Roberto Luongo pumping my tires."
No, it was Tim Thomas saying, "I don't know if it's my job to pump his tires."
I'm going to throw a flag on the field there. We'll look that up.
I'm going to look that up while you continue to mispronounce Roberto Luongo's name.
I'll never be able to get it, man. I could meet him. He could walk in that door, and I'd say his name wrong. I'd just be like, yeah, I can't. Timo Solani could never say McElhaney. He couldn't say Curtis McElhaney's last name, and they were teammates for about 2 or 3 years. So anyway, the media got a hold of it, and he would just butcher his name, just butcher it. So they'd be like, Timo, who's in net tonight? Curtis. He would only use his first name. After a while, he got wise to it, and he'd be like, Curtis.
But anyway, it was Tim Thomas said it about Roberto Luongo. I didn't realize it was my job to pump his tires. So I am right, you are wrong.
Yeah, thought so. I thought so.
Why'd you throw a flag on the play if you knew I was right?
Oh, you were right, sir?
Yes, I'm right.
Who the fuck why were Vancouver people chanting pump his tires then?
Because it's such, it just became a long-running fucking joke.
Okay.
It's the whole thing is,
that final was dumb.
Yeah, no.
Let's get.
That's a great final. It was. Luongo had a critique of a goal Thomas allowed in Game 5, which the Canucks went on to win, putting the team one victory away from winning the franchise's first Stanley Cup. The next day, Luongo tried to explain his comments. I said, Also, that he might make some saves that I don't. So I was just saying that on a particular play, I would have played that different, and that's the difference between me and him. I've been pumping his tires ever since we started the series, and I haven't heard one nice thing he had to say about me. So that's the way it is. And Thomas responded back, I guess I didn't realize it was my job to pump his tires.
You know what? I had that completely backwards for 10 years.
And I knew it was right, because which one of us is a Bruins fan and would remember that series better?
10 years I've been calling Tim Thomas a sook over that one. It was...
No, it was Luongo.
Yeah, it was Luongo all along. Am I doing it right? Luongo?
No, there's only one L in his name.
Longo?
Luongo.
Luongo. That ain't right.
That's right, Roberto Luongo.
Roberto Luongo. No.
You're never going to do it, but...
So all three people still listening here.
Yeah. But yeah, so that happened. But also we kind of alluded to the Cassian Tkachuk situation, and it blew up in a way. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's hard for us to talk about because we want to have TR to weigh in on this particular thing. Because I think you and I have very differing opinions on this.
Everyone thinks I'm anti-fighting in the NHL, and it bugs me. Everybody gets in my mentions. They listen to this, and people who listen and follow me on Twitter.
I don't know if like 4 people count as everybody.
Well, like there's a lot of them. There's more than 4. I'd say there's probably less than 10 or 12, but there's definitely like half dozen.
Sometimes you make it sound as like fuck Chuck is trending or something.
No,
and it's like
but like a bunch of people think I'm anti-fighting in the NHL. I am not. I'm not anti-fighting. I think that the players should be allowed to police the thing. Police the ice. However, I'm so done with this moronic like gentleman's game within a game, and like, you know, that whole narrative to me is like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap, and when you're done with this, I'll wake up. Listen, he went out right away. Tkachuk did, like I said he would. He went out in the first shift and told Cassian, I want to fight you. And then Cassian's like, all right, but we're not going on this shift, and you've got to drop your gloves first. And I'm like, what? What is this? What? Where are, like, is this the fucking Scottish rule of golf here?
No, but
anyway,
here's the thing. There's a couple things that have happened. You have gone peaked on Cherry on this so far. You've mispronounced Roberto Luongo's name, and you also said, like I said he would.
Well, I did, and everyone thought it was crazy. Everyone's like, no, he's never going to fight. He's nothing but a turtle. The dude turtled because the back of his head was getting blown in by, like, I'd turtle too. He couldn't get, like, when he turtled, the dude had him ragdolled and was like demolition axe or smash on the back of his skull. What's he supposed to do?
See, now my issue with this is the way this breaks down. Is that Tkachuk throws that hit. It's the second of such in the game.
Yeah,
and
it's actually 3 hits in the game.
On Cassian like that? Yeah. I've only ever seen the highlights for 2.
3 massive. The second one was the dirty one. The third one where Cassian went bananas was clean. The second one, honestly, the second one...
Anyway, that's not the fucking point. The point is that if it's 2 or 3 times that he does this to the same guy, the fact that he seems so shocked to get repercussions at the time and was like, oh, no, I wasn't ready for him to beat the shit out of me, that's a little bit bullshit. I'll call it a little bit bullshit on that. Him stepping up and actually fighting in the next game...
So why is Cassian dishing rules out to him? He says, all right, we're going to go, and he's like... Hang on now. We're not going on this shift.
First off, what is the precise source in which you have this?
Zach Cassian in the TSN after comments.
Okay, cool.
You can get a video of it.
All right, cool. No,
I told him I'm not going on this shift, and he has to drop his gloves first. And I'm like,
I understand him saying you got to drop your, like, if he comes up to him and says, because the thing is look at what happened with like Ben and who was it? It was like Jamie Benn and somebody a couple weeks ago, where it's like, where Ben ducked him on the offside. They had an offside face-off, and Ben like kind of goes with him, and just as he's getting ready to go, Ben takes off around,
and then they score a goal.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved that so much.
But that's the thing is, I understand Cassian saying like, you're dropping your gloves, or I'm not dropping my gloves until you drop your gloves. That I get.
I don't know. To me,
what is your fucking problem with that?
Because I'm tired of this weird fucking narrative that like There's
but what I don't understand about this is we've been doing this podcast for a fucking year.
Yeah.
And the thing that I don't understand is that there's times where you're like, no, this guy just came up and he suckered him out of nowhere and he wasn't ready, blah, blah, blah. And then there's other times you're like, I didn't like him, saying, oh, I got to wait till you drop your gloves. And like, you don't seem to like it when people.
So for 3 weeks,
you don't like it when people just like impromptu fight or impromptu just get into something.
My favorite.
You also don't like it when they seem to like plan something in advance or like work out. We're going to do this now. Wait a second when I'm ready. But you're pro fight. I just don't understand.
So my favorite is actually when there's two players in a game going back and forth, and then a fight happens not before a fucking face-off or after a face-off, or anything, just happens and play interrupts. Yeah. That to me is prime. That is perfect.
You almost just said you're doing the Lord's work. I saw you start to say it and stop.
2. Okay? 2 after that.
Yeah.
I am not one of these, and like, you can come after me. I'm one of those like, oh, there's a code. Get that out of here. Get it, fucking bury that shit 6 feet and then put another 2 feet on it. There's no code anymore. You've got fellas on opposite teams working out all the time with one another in the summer. You've got the same fucking agents. I think that was always
the case, though.
Definitely not. Back in Brian Killer's book, he talks about that if you were in the AHL, like he spent most of his career, and you were walking on the street and a dude on the opposite team who might have been your teammate was on the same street, the dude with the least amount of years in the league would cross the fucking street.
I mean, yeah, but
anyway, let me finish. You went on your big fucking thing. Let me finish here because you're trying to.
Let me put an aside into that. But if you're talking about a guy who is a bit more of a known enforcer and goon, I think that a code amongst that is a little bit different than just a general. You don't fucking headhunt a guy for a couple shifts and then get shocked when he wants to fight you.
You know what? Okay,
Continue,
you know why? I don't think he was headhunting him for a couple of shifts. One, I'll say this: after a dirty hit, you should be prepared to defend yourself. Zach Hyman tried to fucking paralyze Jacob Trouba on Wednesday night. Trouba got up, amazingly, and he beat the fucking living tar out of him, as he should. The third to Chuck hit was clean. It was a fine hit. Anyway, aside from all of that, the only reason the code exists or still exists is people are hanging on to it, but it was there in a time where, look, the reason the code is dead to me anyway, and you can fucking flame me or whatever you want, 15, 20 years ago, if this had happened, you know what happens under the code? Milan Lucic goes over to Zach Kassian during the warm-up, and they're chatting. He says, you know what? I'm here to pay the tab. I'm here. My coach is putting me on the starting, I'm on the start, and you're going to be on the start, and I'm here to pay the tab. It's my job to fight you now. That hasn't been the NHL for a very long time. So the fact that Zach Kassian gets to stand up and say, well, I told him that we're going to do this it's like he's fucking Evander Holyfield or something. And Zach Kassian's a good player. I don't think he's a good player in what the contract they just gave out to him, but he's definitely an NHLer. He's not just some sort of goon that's on the fourth line with a fucking lip packed waiting to go out for his 4 minutes a night to fight anybody. But I just feel that part of the game is a part of the past. It's as old as stand-up style goalies. It's just so anyone who's holding on to that.
I'll concede your point of view on it, that but here's my argument to it. I think that in a lot of situations, exactly what you're talking about, go over and warm up, kind of like, get on the blue line next to each other as you're doing your stretch and you work out this fucking plan. And then you go and Milan Lucic fights Kassian or whatever. But I think that what's changed about that is that the way the game is the way the game has drifted away from that type of rule is that in a time when that sort of thing existed, because of the way the game was played and the way that kind of violence was in the game, a guy like Matthew Tkachuk wouldn't pull the shit that he tries to pull now. And that's the difference. Is a guy of his caliber wouldn't, because it was more, because it was, I think it was more of an open season. When you're in the era you're talking about, I think it was more of an open season, and somebody like Tkachuk just couldn't get away with the shit that he pulls today.
There's a lot of rats back then. There's a lot of rats.
There's a lot of rats.
Yeah. I can think of 3 guys who were probably some of the dirtiest players in the 90s, And I can't think of Darius Kasparaitis being in a single fight. Fuck, he almost murdered Eric Lindros in one of the dirtiest blindside. Eric Lindros, Darius Kasparaitis, look it up. Yeah. He celebrates it like a goal. He knocks Lindros clean out by jumping and taking his dome off, and then he goes to the bench and celebrates like he scored a goal. Nobody fought and Darius Kasparaitis wasn't a big dude.
But I mean, but what we think about is like Claude Lemieux. Like Claude Lemieux.
Well, Claude Lemieux fought.
What's that? Did he? Because I only ever remember seeing his gloves wrapped around his helmet and watching his name and number upside down. Well, that's all I ever remember about Claude Lemieux.
He didn't fight with like the biggest cheap shot he had on Chris Draper. He didn't fight there.
No, he didn't.
Well, he was mobbed.
No, but that's the thing is like he's mobbed for that shit. But that's
my beef on this entire Tkachuk Cassian thing.
Also, you're doing it with Tkachuk too. The T is silent.
Tkachuk. Okay. The phonetic spelling hour with Mike here today.
Well, it's
okay. With Matthew.
Yeah.
My biggest beef on that was like, guys, look, Bertuzzi and Steve Moore was how many years ago now? 15?
No, that was
2004, 5.
No, it was not. It was 2000. Actually, yeah, it might have been later because I was going to say no, it was earlier than that, but
I was still in high school, so it was like 2003 or 4
yeah,
or something.
No, cuz I remember there being a big conversation of outrage about stuff, and I was thinking it was that, but I actually, in hindsight, I think it was the McSorley thing is what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. That was
because that was also fucking horrid.
Well, that was worse than the. Anyway, I'm not going to say what was worse or what, but the way that the wagons had circled, and I knew that like, okay, he is going to drop the gloves. He's going to. I guarantee you his brother phoned him and said, you're going to have to do this. His dad phoned him and said, you're going to have to do this. He was going to drop the gloves. I didn't for a second. You had people showing up to the games.
March 8th, 2004 was the Bertuzzi.
Yeah. So you had people showing up in like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle costumes, which I thought was hilarious, but kind of sad because they only got like one shift out of the novelty of that.
Yeah.
But the way the hype train got on, like the way, and there was a game, so the big game where everyone fought, including the goalies, was the second time after the whole,
It was they had a Wednesday night game and a Saturday night game.
And so anyway, when all of this was going on, I remember the Bertuzzi incident. It wasn't the first game after they played again; it was the second. Yeah. And it was the same style of the format. And I'm like, guys, did we learn anything from having this like battle hymn being played in the background while we're hyping up these games? Did we learn absolutely anything in 15 years? Everyone wanted to see, look, I don't think anybody got hurt in that second game when they all went there. And one of my favorite hockey fights of all time, and you might have to Google it, it's Evander Kane and Simone Dupre. And Simone Dupre, I believe, It started when play was going on, but there's a great snap in the middle of the fight where both guys have ridiculous smiles on their faces. And that's one of my favorite hockey fights of all time. It was one of these games where Evander Kane was going around doing what Evander Kane does, getting under people's skins, and I guess that Simone Dupre, a fella who's been up, down in the lineup, I don't think he ever held on to any tenure in the NHL, said, you know what, I'm going to step in here. I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to fight this guy. So he fights him. And the two of them meet. I think it was just outside of center ice. They have a pretty good scrap. It's nothing to write home about, but that's still, and I'll see if I can dig it up, they both have giant smiles on their faces. And that's a hockey fight to me. Spending 3 weeks hyping everything up in the media and like all of these rules and game within a game and all of that. To me, if that's your thing, fine. I'm not gonna, but I just don't see the point anymore in that. I feel that's, I won't say archaic. I just feel it's a little bit obsolete. I think it's everything progresses, and that's a lot of that has been left behind. And I don't understand. And like, if you really got to fight and say like, yeah, that's the definition of always sounding off, saying that's old school. Well, you're already proving that you've lost this. It's old school. It's old school for a reason. It's old school because it's gone away.
Yeah, but I think that there are. I think that for one thing, there's people who like old school. There's things are cyclical and things come back, and just because something fell out of favor doesn't mean it needed to or should stay out of favor. And I think that there's always going to be some flux in that regard. But like the game is totally different. It's completely different than it has been. I think that as things go, I think there's a better and worse scenario coming out of it. I think that fights will always need to be part of hockey because I think there's a level of policing. I think that right now, more than anything, it's not that something's old school and wrong or something's whatever. I
never once said it was wrong.
I'm not speaking. Right. I'm not speaking directly to you as much as I am to the hypothetical and all. But I don't think that one's necessarily like right or wrong. I think that right now, more than anything, we are still in the flux of we're still in the transition period of moving from that era of hockey to a new era, and it's trying to figure out just exactly where that the fighting and the code and all this kind of stuff is going to settle as the game moves forward. And I think it's trying to find that right now, and that's why you still have guys that are playing going by the kind of older rules, and guys that are like, well, that's not the way it is anymore. And right now there's that contention and conflict, and that's where I think the problem's coming. But it's one of those things. I think it's always going to be part of the game. I think you're going to have one or two of these a year. It used to be that you got 5 or 6 of these a year.
Yeah, and that's fair too.
I think no matter what happens, you're going to have, and you know what the thing is that game, the latter game where the Oilers beat the shit out of the Flames and there was a goalie fight and all that. It was a great game. It was a great game. And right now I think that season series is 3-1 for Calgary, but the Edmonton Oilers feel a lot better about it at the moment,
Yeah. And Calgary's trying to, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I'd like to see them make the playoffs.
They're going to make the
playoffs. Where are they sitting to right now?
They're in a playoff spot without the wild card.
Oh, okay.
That conference is a gong show. Oh. Right now, the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, yeah.
The Vancouver Canucks are first place in the Pacific with like 65 points.
Who fell off? Somebody fell off after New Year's. Was it Phoenix? Did Phoenix fall off a cliff?
I think Phoenix fell off and they're trying to move Taylor Hall.
I thought that Calgary fell off.
No, they've all been kind of holding, like, Calgary is far below last year's production in terms of points, but they're still in a playoff spot. They're in like second or third. And the thing about all that is, actually, I've got the standings right here, so let me just fucking check and tell you.
Okay.
But the thing that's kind of fucked up about this is that right now, Philly isn't in a playoff spot with 65 points. Right now, the Vancouver Canucks are in first place,
58
with 65 points.
Oh, okay.
In the Pacific Division, Calgary actually has dropped off. I didn't realize this. They are currently out of a playoff spot.
Yeah, I thought so.
They are out of a playoff spot with 60 points.
Yeah, I thought they dropped off. But Arizona fell off a fucking cliff, didn't they?
Yeah. So right now, Arizona is still ahead of Calgary by 1 point. But they are like 2-5-3 in their last 10, and Calgary is 4-5-1 in their last 10. So they're they're pretty neck and neck in the first two. No, they are. They're in the first two wildcard spots. So Calgary is in a wildcard spot at the moment, and they are 2 points back of Edmonton.
Concussions are serious business. Concussions and post-concussion syndrome had a huge effect on my career. Whether you're a player, a concerned parent, a coach, a risk manager, or an executive, they're a major area of concern. HeadCheck Health has developed software and services that improve the way concussions are assessed, tracked, and managed at all levels of sport. Their goal is to create a safer environment of play by giving better tools to the individuals responsible for documenting and assessing concussions and providing better data to administrators to make real health and safety improvements. HeadCheck currently works with organizations across the country like the Canadian Junior Hockey League, BC Hockey, Rugby Ontario, the Western Lacrosse Association, and more to advance their concussion management practices. If you're interested in learning more how HeadCheck can help your team or organization, please visit headcheckhealth.com or email info@headcheckhealth.com. That's headcheckhealth.com or info@headcheckhealth.com, and tell them TR sent you.
It's funny, like, I feel bad for anyone who is a fan of the Metro division because it is always a gauntlet.
Oh yeah.
Philly is what, 65, and they're out of the wild card right
now. They're out of the wild card with
is
65. They're tied with Carolina though.
And Carolina's also in the Met.
Yeah.
Like that is a gauntlet of, and you've got a gauntlet of stars over there too. You've got Ovi, you've got Sid, you've got Ovi, you've got
but I mean, like the other thing to keep in mind in terms of like the division is that, and we'll parlay this into another conversation, is that right now Toronto is in third place in the Atlantic. They've got a point on Florida and 6 points on Montreal.
It's not going to keep. It's not.
It's not. There's going to be some flux there.
I got to tell you,
the third, and the because I mean the wild card, both wild card spots are likely going to go to the Met.
It's February 8th, and I'd love to be wrong. I would absolutely love to be wrong. I just see the Leafs running out of track here. I don't see them making it. I see them running out of track. It's so funny. I can equate this to last year. I was telling everybody that the Habs were going to be fine. I was like, no, they're going to make it. They're going to be fine. And all of my friends who were Habs fans were like, actually, no, that bad start and dropping games we should have won. I think last year Ottawa swept the season series against the Sens. They were like, we're just going to run out of track. And sure enough, 3 games left of the year, they ran out of track. I just don't, like last night the Leafs played.
Can I just say, by the way, how much I love where you're at right now in terms of like each game, watching your meltdown on Twitter.
Oh,
like
Jesus.
I mean, it's
well, I was going to say I had an incredibly normal one, and air quotes around normal there, folks. Anaheim Ducks, one of the worst teams right now in the league. One of the worst teams in the league. Like you got to think our own Newfoundland Growlers.
They are in second last place.
Yeah, so the Newfoundland Growlers have won like every game but 2 on the year in the ECHL. Got to think they would give the Anaheim Ducks a bit of a run for their money. Got to think it would be.
They're the fourth. They're the fourth from bottom team.
Yeah. Have they got like 16 wins?
22.
Oh, wow. Better than I had thought. Yeah. Anyhow, should have been, in my opinion, the lowest hanging fruit. That should have been a juicy coconut ready to fall off a tree and hit you in the head, and there's a bottle of rum to pour right into it.
Yeah.
We're up 3-1 going into the third.
Yeah.
And my God, the wheels didn't just come off the bus, man. The bus, like the suspension and the chassis of that bus just came crumbling down.
Now,
and it's a lot of things.
Now, but here's one thing. There's one thing to keep in mind in all this.
What's that?
The Ducks, despite their record, are 5-3-2. Okay. They've lost in overtime in their last 2 games. They are as much as they've been bad all season. They're on a little bit of like
a little bit of a rush.
They're on a little bit of a like things aren't as bad as it has been up to this point stage. And so that's the thing is when you have a team that's been as inconsistently mediocre as the Maple Leafs, a team like the Ducks who's bad but can go on a who are bad this year but are a team that let's just look, their goal differential is in 26 losses, their goal differential is about 26 goals. They're
fine.
losing a lot of 1 and 2 goal games. Yeah. And so as much as you want to say, their record, they're minus 28. So even though they've lost, no, but they lost 26 games, 7 of which they lost in overtime. 26 and 7. So they've lost 33 games all year. They're minus 28, which means that they're losing a lot of close games. So, that's a team that does stay competitive. They kind of run out of steam, and last night's kind of indicative of that. It's more indicative of a Ducks loss than a Leafs win.
Well, fair. Dial it back to last Saturday, the Ottawa Senators.
Oh yeah,
and again we're going like we're up, and then we're going to overtime.
But isn't that the game where Freddie got hurt?
No, he got hurt in full New York. New York Rangers hurt Freddie. And then again, like it's like, boys, this is the Ottawa Senators. Mm-hmm. I honestly feel our ECHL affiliate could, I'm not going to say dummy them. They'd put them on the ropes. They'd put him on the ropes. And I'm just thinking, like, well, there's no way this is sustainable. What happens when you Florida, like they were up 4-1 in Florida, and they just got urgency came from another team, and they got embarrassed. And I just think they're going to run out of track tonight in Montreal. I can almost promise you, it will be a beatdown for the Habs. I can just see. Well, one, Ilya Kovalchuk always puts up numbers against my teams. He always does, whether it's Canada or...
It's a personal thing, like he knows.
I think so, yeah. I think he knows how mad I got when he did that weird thing in the juniors. I don't know, like, Jesus, this is like 20 years ago. But he always, Ilya Kovalchuk, like, if you want to go out and buy well, this is useless. I don't know, what time is it right now? It's 3 o'clock. If Mike, if you want to leave when we're done here and buy a Pro Line with Kovalchuk getting a hat trick, you might make a couple $100 or something. I don't know how Pro Lines work, but if you want to bet online that Kovalchuk's going to get a hat trick, you might make $100 or something. I would bet. I can just see it coming.
Also, Kovalchuk's a great story. Like this year, his what he's doing in Montreal.
You think they move?
I saw somebody post today, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been you, for fuck's sakes. Talk about how like. It would be a solid move if they moved him and then re-signed him in the offseason.
Ooh.
Like put him out somewhere as a rental and then get him back.
The old Mark Recchi.
No, but I mean it's one of those things that like he clearly likes it in Montreal and it's and they like him there, but it's a lost cause this season. So like maybe they try to do something, get some picks because again, I don't know if I've mentioned this. That team needs to buy in on their fucking rebuild.
Can't do it. Can't do it until you get rid of either Shea or Carey.
No, you got to get rid of Carey Price and that's Shea Weber. I'm not worried about.
Well,
Shea Weber having an older guy wearing the C is fine in the middle of a rebuild. I'm okay with it. Other than the only person that's probably not okay with it is Shea Weber, who's wasting what could be his last year as a rental somewhere to go win a fucking cup.
I think he's done for the year. I think he's hurt again.
He's hurt. I don't know if he's done for the year, but
I think.
I can't remember the report. But
I think they're going to LTIR him into oblivion. Same thing with Carey Price. I think that's the only way they get out from these guys. I think they're just going to... I think Carey Price, there's all kinds of people that are like, oh, his hips are shot. He needs hip surgery. Mm-hmm. And it's like, maybe he does. Maybe I don't know where people.
And I mean, I know we joked around about the Colorado thing. I think if it was any team except Colorado in the position that Colorado was in, I think that deal's done already. But I think that there's a part of Bergevin who knows the riots in the streets of Montreal if he moves Carey Price to the Colorado Avalanche.
I don't think there would be. I think 2 years ago I think there would have been. I think right now.
No, I think there's. I mean, Colorado is in second place in the Central behind St. Louis, who are up by 6 points. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now. They're 5-3-2 in their last 10. As of this recording, all this has changed because tonight's Saturday. And there's going to be a bunch of fucking hockey played.
20 games tonight.
Yeah, all this is going to be way different. But the thing is that as much as I still think Colorado is the destination for Carey Price, if it's not Colorado, because I think that as much as like you want to say the people in Montreal don't feel the same way about Carey Price right now as they did 2 years ago, I think even with that said, there is still we're not shipping off another like.
Yeah,
best goaltender in one of the best goaltenders in franchise history to the Colorado Avalanche when they're on the precipice of a Stanley Cup.
You know what?
They just couldn't like as much as it's the only place that makes sense, and they're probably the only team that would actually bite at the deal that would need to happen. There's no way in hell that
I think times have kind of changed with that, and I think a lot of people in Montreal would really, really like to see Carey with it. Carey Price is on a list of guys that I would, unless they're playing my team, I cannot cheer against if they're going for a cup.
Yeah.
He is not like there's Sid Crosby, Carey Price is another one of them. Mm-hmm. Ovi is one for me. I just can't.
If Joe Thornton wins a cup, I'm going to be quite happy.
Joe Thornton is a big guy for me. I'm going to
be quite happy.
If they're going and they're not, impeding in the Leafs land, if they're not going against the Leafs, that's one of those guys that I would love to see do it. And I think that Montreal right now, where they are, is most of the fans, like the actual people that follow 82 games, and which very common in Montreal, they fucking eat, sleep, breathe, and digest that stuff, understand that, okay, a retool is not going to work, a rebuild is. But I think it's a job security thing for Bergevin. I think if you have to ship out the two contracts, two biggest contracts you signed in Subban and Price, well, why didn't we ship you out?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a job. Like it's kind of a
like it's an admission of failure.
Yeah. One of the most clever things I've heard recently, I can't remember who said it. It was on Twitter. Somebody at me when I was talking about the term of a contract. And I was like, yeah, I don't like the term on this. And they were like, well, it's 6 years. It's 4 of them might be under this GM.
Yeah.
At least 2 of them, which are the problematic ones.
Yeah.
There's somebody else's problem. That's
yeah.
somebody, and like I was, for whatever reason, I just never got to that bridge before. It's like, yeah, you know, if you give somebody in the off season this summer 6 years or 8 years or 7 years, it's like chances are the first 4 are the only ones you're worried about.
Yeah, you're not resigning. You're not the one worrying about. You're not the
worrying about the 7.
You know?
How many GMs stick around for longer than 6 years now? Now, I'd say it's like 50-50 shot. You got to win a cup in there or at least be competitive for 6 years.
I mean, Sweeney's been with the Bruins for a while. I mean, Poyle's been with Nashville since like day one.
Berge's got 6 years punched over there.
The thing that's one though that's the one I don't get is like I don't understand how he's been.
One of my buddies broke it down.
He's somebody who's been on the chopping block. Is like this is a GM that's gonna go any minute. His entire time in Montreal.
One of my buddies breaks it into 2 tenures. He's like, think of it as like the system in America with the presidents where you got 2 terms. It's like, so term 1 was compete. Term 1 was like when they had Toharski and they were almost winning, you know, they were a couple of wins away from the cup final. It's like that's term 1. Term 1 is compete. And then they said, okay, well, we've got to rebuild here. And ownership just elected him for term 2. So it's 2 separate.
And you know what? That's sort of fair.
I thought that was such a galaxy brain thing when I heard it, but I was like, hey, he's got a point.
No, it does make sense that like, okay, we brought you in for the team to compete.
Yeah.
And now all the guys that we kind of gave you, that you kind of inherited, all the moves that you could make within that, we tried that for a few years. That's falling apart. Now we'll give you a little bit of time for a rebuild. And it's just not as much time because obviously there's a ticking clock with this sort of thing. Oh. But yeah, I think that, and people in Montreal can tell me, you know, there's probably some Montreal fans that listen to the show. I don't know if they still do once we say TR's not here this week, but if anybody
I think people still listen to us ramble on.
Sometimes it's just really hard to like find something else to, you know, it's like running across the room to hit the button, but, it's like, it's all the way over there. But, if anybody is listening and you're in Montreal and you're a Montreal fan, would you guys be open to Carey Price going to the Colorado Avalanche? Because again, I think it's the only move.
I think a lot of that is return based. I don't think anybody in Montreal is going to want to move a pick to shed that contract. I think that's the thing. I don't think what does Colorado want picks for? I think Colorado is giving up prospects and picks in exchange for Price. That's possible.
Because that's the thing is Colorado is a now team.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, Colorado is like must win now.
And the thing is, like, they've had good goaltending all year.
Yeah.
But as much as they've had good goaltending all year, that's not to say that their goaltending couldn't be slightly better. And Carey Price being that guy would help them. I mean, if we're looking at their team stats, like if I'm just going to the stats right now, you've got 2 goaltenders who have let in 151 goals this year.
I would say
Grubauer and Francois.
I'd say their save percentages are better than Carey's this year.
924, 910.
Yeah, look at Carey's. I think Carey is boasting around a .904.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But I mean, again, we're talking about Carey Price. We're talking about like the thing is that as much as you want to talk about, I'm still on the Colorado Avalanche page. As much as you want to talk about Carey Price and his stats this year. The thing you got to realize is that we're still talking about his stats this year. He actually has a 912.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he is in between those 2 guys.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, he has a higher save percentage than Grubauer.
I tell you what,
but Grubauer's played more games.
Everyone's talking about how slow this trade deadline's going to be. Like, and by everyone I mean like people like Pierre LeBrun, 31 Thoughts podcast brings. You know, not everyone. Yeah. People who are more connected than me are talking about how slow this trade deadline is going to be. Mm-hmm. That would be something. That takes it, even if there's like 12 trades, but one of them is Carey Price gets moved. Yeah. That would be one for the books.
I think.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, the other thing is like no one's really talking about him as trade bait because no one expects him to move.
No, well, that's exactly it. I I still when I close my eyes, I can see Carey Price wearing different uniforms. When I close my eyes, I could see Carey Price in a Colorado Avalanche uniform. I can also see him in a New York Rangers uniform. For whatever reason, I can see it. Like when I boil my brain down to a chum and the electrical signals that are going on in there, when I close my eyes, those are the two jerseys I can see him donning at some point in his career. With the Rangers goaltending situation, everyone's been going on and on about Alexander Georgiev, which is funny because I can nail saying his name, but Roberto can't do it.
Gorgiev's not going anywhere.
No, because I think Hank Lundqvist is going to retire.
Yeah, no,
I think I get the feeling that
no, but that's the thing is I think for that reason Kreider's not going anywhere. The Bruins are all over Kreider.
Yeah.
Like it's all I see in my timeline is they're like, are we going to get Kreider? And if not, are we going to move on to Foley? But I think that they're anticipating Lundqvist retiring.
Yeah.
The Key's going to Georgiev. And then all of a sudden
I think Igor is the starter there though. I think Georgiev stays in the background. I think Igor, I'm not even going to Sostishkin.
But anyway, but still, I think that Hank retiring is their rebuild, and it's one of those things where, you know, a couple guys go, okay, is this massive change, like. Do they want to go back to zero, or do they want to keep the pieces like Kreider there? I mean, they went big on Panarin last year, so they're obviously not trying to completely run everybody out of town.
I think with Hank, he's one of those guys like a Nick Lidstrom or a Steve Yzerman. When he can't be competitive or at the level of standard in which he was for the 15 years of his career, being like a top 10 in the league guy, he's just going to hang it up. And I think he's there now. I think it's like, you know what? I'm not even in the top 20 of the league in terms of a goaltender. I think this is it for me. I think it's done. And so all month, Georgiev was linked to the Leafs. And everyone's like favorite punching bag in Leafs land is Darren Dreger on the Twitter because he's Darren Dreger. But beside the fact of that, he would keep speaking to Rangers people and asking would Kapanen for a backup goalie do it? Kapanen's having a bad year. Would Kapanen for a backup goalie get it done? And the Rangers source he had would said no. So he said I jokingly asked would Rasmus Sandin get it done, and he said no. So everyone absolutely like pitchforks and fire bombs and everything in his timeline. But I was like, I bet they know that Hank is done at the end of the year, and that's why they're saying no.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, okay, Rasmus Sandin is undeniably going to be a presence in the NHL. Look at the Rangers back end, man. They got a lot of guys back there that there's a logjam back there. Tony DeAngelo has found a renaissance. He's playing like an incredible season, despite him being Tony DeAngelo. And then there's who else is back there? That Brady Shea guy, Victor Foss is a defenseman, I believe. Like they've got a lot of people back there. So Rasmus Sandin, it's like
But the question becomes is whether or not the Rangers are selling. Because if the Rangers are selling, then DeAngelo's out of town.
You think so?
I think if they're making moves, DeAngelo's got to be part of it.
I think they're judging by what he's done this season. You kind of got to hold on to that
completely.
I think, man, the Rangers aren't that far removed from, they're not that far removed from being a playoff competition team here. They're not far that removed from making it. Had Lundqvist kind of not played.
The other thing is that DeAngelo is a RFA this summer.
Oh yeah, he is too, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's going to get a raise wherever he's.
Yeah, and so that's the thing is
he's
right now
he's probably got arbitration rights at this point too. He's been in the league for a long time, so
he's 24. I don't
maybe
see,
not though.
I don't maybe not. I don't see the little.
Maybe not.
I don't see all those little signifiers on cap friendly. He's 24 years old.
I don't.
He's currently making $925.
Jesus. Okay, yeah, 925. Yeah. Okay, I was like, is he making $9 million?
No.
Fuck,
Jesus
when did
Christ.
that happen?
He's not on his entry level anymore, but he's not.
So I think he does have arbitration rights.
Because I made a pitch, I think, to somebody on Twitter last week that like I'm still kind of up in the air on how serious I am about it. But I made the pitch where you swap D'Angelo and Charlie McAvoy.
Ooh,
Then Charlie McAvoy got his first goal of the season, and the whole team just lost their collective shit. And then and then it was one of those things where, like, me as a Bruins fan, I was like, I could live with that trade. But then I saw the way the team reacted when he finally scored, and went, maybe this guy means a little too much to these guys.
Well,
because I mean, the other thing is, like, McAvoy's still their minutes leader. At this point of the season.
I like Charlie McAvoy a lot. I don't know if I do that. I don't know. If you take away what McAvoy does on that back end, but add Tony D'Angelo's offensive flair to it, are you really a better team?
Well, the thing is like, if you compare the numbers, they're like, compare their numbers, they're not far off in terms of like their plus minus or whatever else you want to try to measure a defenseman by.
Fair.
Assists, they're not far off. It's just the goal scoring. It's basically what you lose from McAvoy in plus minus, because I think he's like an extra 1 or 2 up on D'Angelo, but D'Angelo has a shit ton more points, which makes you go, okay, well, clearly if he's scoring that much more, he's letting in more goals. But depending on who his defensive partner is and stuff, maybe that changes, and all he's doing in Boston is putting stuff in and not letting as much go at the same time. So
do you follow D'Angelo on Twitter?
No.
Oh, he does a lot of shit talking, eh?
Oh, does he?
Oh, yeah. He does a lot of.
The other thing is that McAvoy's 2 years younger, and
him and Brad Marchand would actually on the same team would be.
But McAvoy is a year younger and is currently 2 years younger and is currently making $4.9 million and will through. He's not a RFA until 22, 23. So he's making a fair bit more money for a bit, and I mean, you're probably looking around the same price point when D'Angelo resigns.
Yeah, you're getting close there. I don't know. Yeah, you're looking in the 4s for sure after this season for Tony D'Angelo. I don't know if I do that trade.
And that's the thing is it was one of those, like, earlier this week I was like, yeah, fuck it. But now again, seeing the way, like, McAvoy scored in Chicago in overtime, it was his first goal of the season, and the team went off.
Yeah.
Apparently they delayed their flight. Like, they stayed in Chicago to party and celebrate.
Who was it that we
get out on the beer because they were so excited for McAvoy?
Who was it that we had on this that said Chicago was their favorite city to party in?
A couple guys.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, Chicago was the city that
there was somebody
you knew when you were leaving Chicago.
Yeah, there was somebody who, like, that's where they like put down their roots, and then they got traded out of town instantly, but like still kept going back for.
Oh my! I was trying to remember. I was like, yeah, because I was like, Chicago, and they're like, yeah, that's where you really tied one on in the NHL.
Wow.
Are we at an hour yet?
We are a couple minutes late.
All right. I'm gonna start now. I've made it an hour without bringing this up. Without bringing this up. My large adult son, Trevor Moore. He is no more. He's gone to his hometown of the LA Kings. He's been traded off of the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm gonna miss him. He was one of my favorite little water bug speedsters. That he's almost like the small dog you bring at the park that would take on the bigger dogs.
You mean Sam?
Yeah, Sam. I guess. Yeah, he would be like he didn't know his size. He had so much grit and fire last season. This season he had a hard go. He was injured to start the year. Then he got injured again. I think he only played 18 games for the Leafs. Like, I don't think there was that much. They shipped him to the Los Angeles Kings, which was nice. He said he grew up a Kings fan, so that's always nice. For finally got a backup goalie in Jake Campbell.
And Jack Campbell, isn't
Jack Campbell, yes.
And Kyle Clifford.
Kyle Clifford, Big Red. And boy, oh boy, am I on the Kyle Clifford fucking...
And I think Clifford's the same way. Clifford's from Ontario, so I think it was kind of a hometown swap.
Oh, yeah. Well, Clifford grew up idolizing Matt Sundin. So when he got to the dressing room, they took a Matt Sundin nameplate and put into his where his name thing would be. So they had all of his gear set up, but they had one of Matt Sundin's nameplate there. Nice move. Clifford also took the ice in warm-ups with no bucket, which apparently the Leafs have a rule. You're not allowed to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently. I didn't know this either, but I think it was Christian Shilton was like, yeah, we haven't seen this in a long time, pretty much since Taylor Hall almost got murdered in warm-ups. Kyle Clifford's out there with no bucket, and one of the guys I follow on Twitter was like, let him smoke a cigarette while he's out there. And all he looks like equal parts like Woody Harrelson in the Zombieland movies.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Well, I loved his quote where they asked him. I can't remember what the question was, but it was something about his role on the team, and his response was just like, "Well, they're not bringing me here to chase Austin Matthews for goals."
Yeah,
and it was just like, I kind of love that. That's kind of. But as I bring it up, I brought up the Leafs on Cap Friendly just because we're going to get into some Leafs conversation now. I'm assuming based on just the segue of talking about Jack Campbell and Kyle Clifford. But as I did, I scrolled
Big Red, please. His nickname, Big Red.
I was scrolling down and I got to long-term injured reserve, and the first two names that pop up are Nathan Horton and Dave Clarkson. And it made me laugh because I'm like, right, these guys are still, but they're off the books this year.
Yeah, they are. So anyhow, back to that trade. For a long time, so I don't know if you've listened to this for the year and change we've been on, you've probably heard me go off on Frederick Gauthier a lot. The reason I don't like Frederick Gauthier is, I shouldn't say I don't like him, I just don't think he's an NHLer. I think he's a fringe guy. He's got all this size, doesn't know how to use it, and until this year he wasn't very reliable on skates in terms of his speed. He has worked on that. I've noticed a big increase, and because of that, he's sitting at 7 goals now.
I'm confirmed.
I've got a goal chart, which is just a bunch of goats whenever he scores on my Twitter feed. I think we're up to 7 now. When he gets to 9, I'm going to buy fireworks, and then if he scores 10 on the year, I'm blowing off some fireworks. Which is, I live in a downtown house where there's no backyard or anything, so I might get arrested. Like I might have to blow these off on a sidewalk, and then. So if anyone knows Frederick Gauthier and is listening to this, I don't know if you see the VOCM headline where it's like local man in St. John's gets arrested because Frederick Gauthier scores 10 goals. That's me. But I think Kyle Clifford solidifies a position on this team, probably on the third line. At worst, he keeps Gauthier out of the lineup, and he uses his size down there on the fourth line. I like the addition of Kyle Clifford big time.
I think it's a great addition.
It's a great addition. I think it was good. He's only signed for this year. I thought he had a little bit of term on top of this, but no, he's only signed for this year. So anyway, in my opinion, the real cream of the crop here is a backup goalie because it's been a year. We got 9 points until Jack Campbell came in. We had 9 points out of our backup goalie. When compare that to the Bruins, they got 36 points from a backup goalie. Compared to
what backup goalie?
Well, 1A, 1B type thing.
Yeah, I was going to say the Bruins don't have a backup goalie.
Compared to the Pittsburgh Penguins, they got 39 points from their backup goalie. It's Washington. You could make the case that Braden Holtby is now their backup goalie. So the Leafs, with the injury to Freddie, obviously something had to happen. I think this has been working before the injury to Freddie. You see the guy who leaked the trade before puck drop?
No.
There's a Twitter account, Mike Litteris. I'm going to say that again.
Yeah, I got you.
He just said trade call is going to come after the game. It's Trevor Moore and some picks for Kyle Clifford and Campbell. And he's like, brackets, this is obviously an alias to protect identity. And then I read the name again, and I was like, oh, yes.
When you say it out loud,
I get it say it out loud. I was like, okay. And sure enough, it was so funny because I watched Keefe's press conference, and he's like, they're like, who's going to start? Who's going to start on Friday? And he's like, well, we're going to see where Freddie's at, and there's some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, Sheldon, baby, tell me about the other stuff that's going on.
I'm fascinated by this other stuff of which you speak.
Yeah, and
so, but the thing is I'm looking at the Leafs on Cap Friendly right now. There's also the Leafs Cap Friendly page for anybody who's not a Leafs fan is fucking hilarious to look at. Just because, for one, it goes goalies. The way it breaks down is goalies $6.3 million. Defensemen, $10.7 million. Forwards, $56.6 million.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There are 3 guys in double digits at the top of that. I don't think any other team can boast such a thing. And I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question. We obviously know the big 4.
Yeah.
Who is the 5th highest paid Leaf right now?
the 5th highest paid Leaf right now. So the highest paid Leaf right now is Matthews, Tavares, Marner. Then you get William Nylander. I'm going to say Morgan Riley.
It is a tie.
Tie between Riley and Freddie, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Do you know who's after that?
After that, Riley, Freddie, it's probably going to be Cody Ceci.
It is. Oh wait, yes.
It's probably going to be Cody Ceci.
Cody Ceci. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, but I should say, by the way, before we get to Cody Ceci, even before we get to Riley and Frederick, it goes in order after William Nylander. Then it's Nathan Horton.
Oh yeah, okay, those guys don't
Then it's
count.
David Clarkson. But does Ceci? That's my question. Does Ceci? Because
he's done for the year.
He's done for the year, and they're going to LTIR him so that they can use that emergency thing. And I don't know if Ceci's going to come back for the playoffs. I think Riley is. I don't think Ceci is.
I still don't think they make the playoffs. So I think this is all in vain.
I know, but that's the thing is, I think like, because the whole argument right now, I just read that, Myrtle has a thing on The Athletic where he breaks down whether or not they can weaponize their LTIR to try to make a move for a defenseman, because there's no salary cap when you get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So the question becomes whether or not they LTIR Riley for the remainder of the season. And then bring him back for the playoffs.
Riley, definitely not. I honestly, from what I saw the last handful of games, and by what I saw, I mean Tyson Barrie at the point on the power plays. Man, Morgan Riley can't get back soon enough.
But the thing
I'd give Morgan Riley my ankle right now.
But the thing is if Morgan Riley is it appears that Morgan Riley's dealing with more than necessarily just his foot. Because 8 weeks is a long time for a foot.
Yeah.
And so but even 8 weeks brings him back in mid to late March. Mm-hmm. And so the question becomes:
he's gonna do so when he does.
But just to let me finish the thing, so we can debate this whole part of it, is that if he comes back on March, say he comes back Patty's Day,
okay,
he comes back March 17th. You've got what? Less than 3 weeks left in the regular season.
I'd say from Patty's Day, we've got about 12 games left on the
12
the year.
games.
Yeah, 12 to 15.
So assuming he comes back then or slightly later, he's coming back with maybe 10 games before the playoffs. Do you, for the sake of making the playoffs, try to LTIR him, get his contract off so that you can get relief, so that you can bring in another defenseman that gets you to the playoffs while you don't have him, and then bring him back for game one? Do you Patrick Kane this situation?
I think that's what they're looking at very, very closely. Obviously, the market on defensemen is not there's not many guys out there. Everyone's saying Matt Dumba. I don't think Matt Dumba is what the Leafs need. Matt Dumba is a not as good Tyson Barrie, and Tyson Barrie's not doing very well either. They need someone who's a bit more reliable in their own end. That's always been the issue here. Our own end is still a nightmare. I've got a guy picked out. He's over on the San Jose Sharks. I think it's Brendan Dillon. And if you really go out and take a run for him, he's an RFA at the end of the year. He doesn't make terrible amount of money. I don't even think he cracks 4.5. I think he's cheaper than Ceci actually. Brendan Dillon is who I would add, but the Morgan Riley thing, it's too close to call. It depends on what situation they're sitting in when he's ready to get back on skates, when he's ready. I think he comes back. I think he comes back and does a conditioning stint, and maybe he plays 1 or 2 games at the very end of the year. That's the way I see it playing out. Just because, one, they might need those 4 points to get in. I think regardless, he's going to have to do the max conditioning stint in the AHL at this point.
Yeah, but the whole thing that I don't seem to understand where the Leafs are concerned is you're saying you think the Leafs miss the playoffs this year anyway. You're saying they run out of track. And
I think they do. I don't think management.
Just you're saying that you think they run out of track. Mm-hmm. And so if you think they're going to run out of track, if other fans seem to be like I said, my Twitter timeline during a Leafs game is just people saying like, fuck this season now. People are trying to lower their expectations to be like, this is it, fuck it, we're not even going to make the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. If that's where the team is at right now.
I don't think the team is there at all.
No, but if that's where the fan base is at right now, if that's what people are saying, if that's what the expectation of the team is at this point, then I don't understand how anybody in that fan base can't like the idea of just shelving Riley till the playoffs. Give him the extra week or so to recoup even more. Maybe he comes back, he starts, like, I don't know if he starts working out with the team in like a non-contact jersey or something. Does he come off the, does shit go back on the books?
No.
So he could start working out with the team and just not get in a game situation until the playoffs. That's completely doable. And in the meantime, they can find somebody who's on, find a decent defenseman.
CC being gone helps a lot. CC being gone makes it.
And CC's a UFA, so he's never putting on a Maple Leafs jersey again.
We have seen. I don't want to jinx anything. Is this made of wood, Mike? This is made of wood. That's me knocking. I think I've seen the last of Cody CC terrorizing my hopes and dreams in the fucking defensive zone of the Toronto Maple Leafs. However, I think with CC being off the books, you can still add a defenseman that helps us get in without rushing Morgan Riley back. But the fact is, when you've been not playing NHL caliber hockey from Riley went down in January? Early January?
Early January.
When you've not been playing NHL hockey and you're a defenseman since January, to jump in on game 1 of the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs, if you make it, I don't see how that's a big plus unless you are upper elite. And look, man, I'm a big Morgan Riley stan. I don't think he's top 3 in terms of defensemen of eliteness. Like, I think you've got to get your legs about you. You've got to get your hockey brain back and all that. So maybe the opportunity of doing a conditioning stint in the AHL isn't going to get you where you need. I think he's going to need 2 games at the end of the year if there's any way to skin it on the cap. As for why you think if this is it, and why is management not just kind of turfing this year?
No, because I don't think they're at that point.
Definitely not. We've got a 5-year window. Simple as that. We've got 5 years to compete to win a cup. That's it. After these 5 seasons, if we don't have one, it might be 2067 by the time they fucking win a cup. It might never happen.
But at the end of the day, I think the thing we all need to remember
is that Cody CC is probably never going to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I was going to say that, really what it all, the thing that you got to keep in mind as you talk about all these scenarios and talk about all these hypotheticals is that, Kyle Dubas is much smarter at this than either of us.
Did you see Max Kerman was his mentor?
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Did you see his interview?
No,
he did an interview with TSN, and I personally felt attacked. So he's like, yeah, everyone who's been, adding me that, hey, this hypothetical trade or that hypothetical trade. He's like, I've seen them, and I want you to know that not only has Kyle thought of it, but he's thought about it maybe 15 steps back. He's smarter than all of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop adding me.
Exactly.
And I was like, yo, I feel attacked.
And I mean, Max, right?
Yeah, we're familiar with one another.
Yeah, well, I met Max through you. Yeah, so, fair. I mean,
I felt a little bit attacked. Also, I got to meet Kyle Dubas because of an Arkells t-shirt when he was in town. So.
Well, that's nice.
That was nice.
Is that what you wore to the job interview?
Yeah. He still hasn't called me back.
But yeah, I think that there's he's looking at this in because at the end of the day, it's like me and you talk about this for an hour or 2 a week.
I think about this constantly, literally every day of my life now.
But you're not paid a lot of money to. And that's the thing is, so when you're paid a lot of money to, in Kyle Dubas's case, it doesn't seem like all the GMs take this approach, but when you're paid a lot of money, you think it through and you do the smart thing. Not all GMs agree with that philosophy. Some of them take a different approach to the job. I'm not going to name names, but I think that
Mike, please, Jim Rutherford's not here to defend himself.
But I think also is Rutherford not employed? Didn't he?
Oh no, he's in Pittsburgh, man. He gave Johnson. He gave Jack Johnson like 1 million years term.
Right. It was Shero just got canned.
Yeah,
right?
Shero just got canned.
But yeah, so I think it's a weird year for all this sort of stuff. But I think that, I mean, the fact of the matter is like I wasn't looking at Jake Muzzin when the Leafs got Jake Muzzin. He was kind of off my radar.
Oh, was he?
He was a kind of off.
It's so funny.
But I mean, I'm not a Leafs fan, so I wasn't kind of looking with the same sort of thing.
He was my brother's dude. He was my brother's like. That's who I want. I will accept Jake Muzzin and nobody else. Mm-hmm. And Did
Muzzin also come? He also came from LA, didn't he?
From LA, yeah. And anyway, I remember.
So they've got like, so the Leafs farm system, as far as we know right now, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then it's on the next tier down on the org chart is the Toronto Marlies, the Los Angeles Kings, and then the Newfoundland Growlers. That's the way the breakdown works.
It's so funny. Jake Muzzin got traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs on a Thursday night in January, and I was on the phone with my brother. And for whatever reason, I was on the highway. I took the highway home from my office. And he gives me a call, and he's like, well, this is it. He's like, we're in the thick of it. Dubas is kind of the guy that's going to go and shop before the deadline, because the deadline was in February that year. And he's like, I want Jake Muzzin off of L.A. And I was like, really? Jake Muzzin? I was like, he's having a bit of a bad year. And John's like, L.A. is having a bad year. He's like, I want Jake Muzzin. I will. And the line was, Muzzin's my guy. I will accept no one else. That was this year. Georgiev was his guy, and he would accept no one else for the backup goalie. He's been yelling about a backup goalie like, I don't know, for 2 years now. I literally had to concede this week. I don't know. Well, the Hutchinson game, Hutchinsiv in New York. I was like, yeah, okay, you're right. And then I don't know, an hour after that, we had a backup goalie. But in my brother's language, where I'm going with all of this is, Brendan Dillon is my guy. I will accept no one else for an addition on the Leafs back end now. We're at February 8th. It is 3:39. The trade deadline is in less than 3 weeks. Brendan Dillon is my guy, and I will accept no one else for a bolster to the Leafs back end.
Yeah, I was looking through some stuff, and I was trying to come up with other alternatives, but it's just like even a couple other guys that I thought were like maybe the right cap kind of range, or right like stage of their contract and whatever that could possibly be fits there. Yeah, like the team isn't selling that guy. It's that sort of thing. So like I'm really kind of, I don't know.
Who you think the team isn't selling? Who?
Oh no, I'm not gonna say on, because like it's one of those. I'll tell you after, but I'm not going out and saying it on this because I don't follow the team close enough. But I still think that they are too close.
You got to say it now.
No, I'm not gonna wait until after. I'm gonna wait until you after because I don't want to.
You don't want to jinx it, eh?
I don't want. No,
you don't want a recording of you saying like they're not gonna move.
No,
this.
because it's a team and a player that is young enough player on a team that's cuspy right now.
Cuspy.
That I feel like they don't want to risk moving what could be a massive part of their team moving forward.
You're talking about the Devils and Subban?
No, Jesus,
okay.
no.
Well, I've seen a lot of that. It's like, Subban for salary retained, and it's like
he's got $9 million a year. Like
he's only got 2 years on it.
Yeah, the only 2 years gone on it. You mean?
Oh, is it? He's got how many more years on that deal?
A lot.
Oh, okay, yeah, no.
He is. First off, the Devils are like. No, never mind. He does. He only has 2 years left.
Yeah, he's only got 2 years left. So
he's got 2 years left, and the Devils are second lowest paying team in the league right now. So theoretically, they could do
salary retain. They could do salary retain.
They could do a lot of retention.
Saying that.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come out flying next year, but I don't think he helps anyone. I could be wrong. I don't know. A lot of people say his underlying numbers are terrible. I don't think he helps a team get over the hump if they're on the hump.
No, I don't think he's that kind of guy, right? Like I that's like saying like Brett Burns. It's like Burns is Burns, for one, his contract he's like got years and years left, I believe. But the other thing is like the Leafs need a really like stay at home, lock their shit down defenseman.
Brendan Dillon is my guy, and I will accept no one else.
But yeah, like that's what they need. They need someone to just fucking chill out on the blue line and do that job.
Yeah.
And I think when you get into these kind of flashy,
and that's why I don't get
flashy goal scoring defensemen is not what they need.
Well, and everyone's saying like Matt Dumba. That would give us like Riley, Barry, and Matt Dumba, and I'm like. The only way that fucking works is if you're playing a video game. Like, that's the only way that works. If you're playing, like, EA Sports NHL 20, and you've got the period set to, like, 5-minute periods.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the only way that works. I'm sorry. Maybe if you were, like... I just don't see that being a viable solution. I don't understand the... And Dumba's got a fairly large cap hit, and he's signed for 2 more years. I don't get it. I can't figure it out. I don't think that's what we need. Clearly, the trouble is in our own end of the ice, and Matt Dumba's focus is like, it's not in that end of the ice. That's like, everyone's like, oh, are we going to keep Barry? I wouldn't do it.
But here's a question: if you're not going for, let's just. Well, I've got the Minnesota Wild up here.
Yeah.
What about if you're not going to look at Matt Dumba, because Matt Dumba's got 3 years left on his contract?
5.75? 6. Yeah, no.
He's 6. But
No
if you look at,
he'd be our highest paid defenseman.
But if you're looking for someone to just lock down that backside, what about, while I just happen to have these guys open, what about like a Jonas Brodin? He's making 4-1. He's plus 13 on the Minnesota Wild. He's only got 1 goal, but you're not trying to bring in a defenseman for goal scoring. He's got 1 goal, 19 assists, plus 13 through 51 games.
What's his average ice time a night?
I don't see that in front of me at the moment.
That's a big question I got to ask to that, is his average ice time. I'm not even familiar. I do have.
That's the thing. Is like, I'm just going by just really
by
like
the literally standout numbers. I do have, since Jonas Hoagland, I do have a soft spot for fellas named Jonas on the Leafs. My brother was a big Jonas Hoagland fan, and whenever we'd watch Toronto Maple Leafs games, he would have Weezer's "My Name Is Jonas" paused on the stereo. And if Jonas Hoagland,
this season he's averaging 21-25.
Oh wow, yeah, they're not going to want to get rid of him. He's probably. It sounds like he's a young guy too, eh?
He is 26. He's 26. He's a first round pick for him. But he was a first round pick in 2011.
Okay.
His current salary is 4.7. Well, like 4.1, I think is his AA
expiring deal.
He is out of there. His contract expires. His contract expires next year, so they'd have 1 year left.
Okay.
But also, it kind of is a complete replacement for CeCe's contract.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
And you actually would you'd probably still save a couple $100,000.
I think a big thing is we're going to need to find out in Toronto land.
Are you looking for? No, the Leafs are ridiculous about the left-right D thing, right?
Well, not as much anymore, but they were. Yes.
Yeah, because Babcock was a nut for it.
think. Well, he complained the day that they went out and got CeCe, not CeCe. He complained the day they went out and got Muzzin.
Yeah.
He was like, well, I don't know what you got him for. Anyway, I had my. I spoke about Mike Babcock enough on this program.
Yeah. But so if you were going to say, what side are they looking for?
No, I was actually going to say.
I'm asking. Like, if you were going to say, I wasn't saying if you're.
Yeah, they're looking for a right side.
Okay,
guy. Yeah.
He's left.
Okay, yeah, they're looking for a right side guy, as far as I know. I don't know. I haven't. Kyle won't return my calls, so after that job interview went south. The Leafs situation, though, I don't think they're looking for a guy who's got term per se. I think they're going to extend Muzzin, and you've got to really find out, all right, we've got Rasmus Sandin and Timothy Liljegren. Can both of these guys play next year? If they can, you've got Dermott, Riley, Muzzin, Sandin, Liljegren. There's not much. Marincin and Justin Hall are both signed. There's not much room back there to add a guy with term. That's why Brendan Dillon is my guy, and I will accept no one else.
We're gonna talk about this when they get Jonas Brodin, and all of a sudden,
yeah, you'll sound like a genius.
Yeah, me.
Although you've got this ace up your sleeve, a guy that you won't say. You won't tell me who it is.
Oh no, it's definitely not that kid.
No,
and I'll refer to him as kid as a hint.
Oh,
because that's the thing is, like, when it's a kid who has recognition on D, you kind of there's a couple, and it's also not Buffalo, if that makes you feel any better. If that kind of helps, but anyway.
Oh, who's the Rasmus in Buffalo that's been trying to get traded for like 3 years? Is it Rasmus Ristolainen? Is it Ristolainen that it requested a trade? Like, I feel so, like Buffalo started this year and it looked like, hey, they're actually going to make it. We're going to get to see Jack Eichel in
They
the
have
playoffs.
2 Rasmuses on their D.
There's like only 3 Rasmuses in the NHL, and one is Sandin, and the other 2 are guys that won out of Buffalo.
But yeah, Dahlin is still on his entry level.
Yeah.
Dahlin,
The concentration of Rasmuses in the NHL, if you put a map of where the NHL is, there's just one little dot around Toronto and Buffalo where it's 100% of the Rasmuses. Rasmi.
But also, while you're on Buffalo, Brandon Montour.
Didn't they just pick him up?
Right D.
Yeah, they just got him from Anaheim last year.
Yeah, but right D, 3.3, year left on his contract, +5 on the Buffalo Sabres.
Wow.
On the 2019-2020 Buffalo Sabres, he's in the plus column. Fucking lock him down.
I think the last time Buffalo and Toronto made a trade, Tim Horton went to Buffalo. I would have to look that up, but like they haven't made a trade in like 60 years.
Yeah, quite probably.
Yeah, like the Buffalo Sabres are not going to trade. There's a bunch of people saying that there's a guy in Ottawa that could be moved to Toronto. Third pairing guy. He's been real reliable on his own end all year. And Ottawa, of course, will sell anything, including the seats out of their arena. So, like literal seats, they would rip them out and cover them with tarps. So, maybe that could be. I didn't look at him, but I think Jeff Merrick might have been talking about him on the 31 Thoughts podcast.
Who's that, Ron Hainsey?
No, not Ron Hainsey. Oh, man. I'll tell you this, though. Roman Polak to Ron Hainsey was a bit of a, like like Joni says, you don't know what you got till it's gone, pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
I mean,
Ron Hainsey to Cody Ceci was the hardest transition I have ever seen on the back end. Like,
because that was the trade, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't
Was
a trade,
or?
but no, we CC went. CC came as part of the Connor Brown trade, and Nikita Zaitsev went the other way. Nikita Zaitsev still worse than Cody Ceci. Believe it or not, folks, Nikita Zaitsev is not having. He's not even having a. Cody Ceci's not having a tolerable season. Nikita Zaitsev is not having anything go right for him. Ron Hainsey, though, like. All the times I cursed Ron Hainsey last year, and trust me, there were a lot of them, Cody Ceci blew through that budget by Christmas. By Christmas, man.
Yeah, I'm just looking at, like, I mean, there's definitely
someone warned me about Ceci too. They were like, "Yeah, you are going to have a hard time watching this guy in your team's colors. You're gonna have a hard time the whole way through, man." But literally, the message was a DM, and it was like, "I am thinking about you here today." And I was like, "Why?" They're like, "Cody Ceci." I was like, "Man, we got rid of Zaitsev." And they were like, "No, you are going to have a rough go with this guy. Like, you are going to have a hard time with, he's just got no brain. He's got no hockey brain." And boy, were they right.
Yeah. We've talked this all. We talked a lot of this. Now.
Yeah.
We've been on the Leafs for a half hour.
Yeah, we can move along. Hang on. Brendan Dillon is my guy, and I will accept no one else. Now we're done.
Jonas Broden. If you're a Bruins fan, don't look at the overall standings. That is the lead line of an Athletic piece by Joe McDonald, because they're currently in first place in the league.
Okay.
Stanley Cup playoffs start today. President's Trophy banner is not being hung in Boston because they have actual banners for actual accomplishments. But
do people still hang up President's Trophy banners?
No.
Okay, good.
No, it's the Nashville Predators did it a couple years ago or some shit.
I know the Washington Capitals did one.
Right. It wasn't even the President's Trophy. It was like they put up like a fucking like Central Division banner or some shit like that.
Oh my God.
There was something ridiculous. Or Western Conference Champs the year that I think they put up a Western Conference Champs banner the year that they it's the Western Conference Champs banner the year that they lost in the Cup Finals.
Maybe it was a meme, but did somebody put up like a Winter Classic winner banner once, like when they won the winter?
I think it was again the Nashville Predators.
Okay,
put up a Western Conference with the year they lost the Cup Final to Pittsburgh. The next season they hung a Western Conference champion banner.
Oh my God!
And people haven't stopped making fun of them for it since.
No kidding.
But yeah, so the Bruins right now are on pace to win the President's Trophy. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried. Said Mike Hickey, noted Bruins fan. Because a lot of people talk about the President's Trophy is kind of a bad thing to win because you often don't win the cup if you win the President's Trophy.
Can I like borrow a 1930s term here? And that's hogwash.
But yeah, no, it's one of those things where, like, look, the Bruins have been struggling. They've had a really good season. They've had some really low moments in that really good season. They went their January was not a good January. The Bruins January was almost as long. Yeah. The Bruins, like, January for the Bruins was almost as hard a year as it was for anybody living in St. John's. Yeah. It was not, like, as a Bruins fan living in St. John's, my January was a fucking nightmare.
You guys had, like, it was the end of the year, like from the end of, like, 2019, the last couple of days of December into most of January. It's pretty rough over there.
Like, it was almost as bad as, like, my rec team started off 2020 0-3 minus 18. We just went on a fucking skid.
Oh, yeah. I've got a question for you.
All right, but first let me just say that buying new tools can be a bit of a pain. Sometimes it's something you need for one project, or you just don't have the space to store. Or even if you do have the space, it can feel like a waste to just have something collecting dust in the basement or shed. You can change that with The Good Neighbor. The Good Neighbor is a new tool rental app now launching in Halifax and the surrounding areas that's focused on bringing communities together one rental at a time. It's a peer-to-peer system that saves you money by stopping you from buying tools that you only need once and makes you money by renting out the tools that are just sitting around your house. You can learn more at thegoodneighborapp.com or find it in the App Store. And they're Canadian, so they spell neighbor properly. Now, what did you want to ask me?
In my mind right now, I can, like, if I, and this rarely happens in the modern day NHL. I can't remember the last time it did, but I can really see a rematch of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, no, it never happened.
I can really.
It hasn't happened since the Detroit
2008, 2009, and then I can just, for whatever reason, I can see these two teams squaring off again in the finals. That, in all likeliness, is what I see the Stanley Cup Finals fleshing out to be this year. I don't know what routes they take to get there.
I don't know. I think that Tampa Bay is still very much a threat. I think the Washington Capitals are still very much a threat. I think Tampa Bay, Washington, and Boston are the teams that anybody in the East should be concerned about. I think you're looking at St. Louis, Colorado, and whoever scrambles their way out of the Pacific. Like, right now, I think the Pacific's up for grabs. Like, it's literally anybody's. I mean, the
Simpsons gig where they hold the mugs above their for the Super Bowl, the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where right now they're in, I think, third place in the division, but I could see the Oilers kind of dialing up a little bit. Like, I could see, because I can see what's happening in the Battle of Alberta that we talked about a little bit earlier. I can see momentum from that. If they can keep rolling like they did in that game last Saturday night, if they can put the pedal down a little bit on that sort of momentum and keep playing that kind of hockey, yeah, I could see. But at the same time, I really don't have a fucking clue. Colorado and St. Louis are what I'm worried about in the West right now. I see one of those two teams coming out of the Western Conference.
To me, it feels like I was looking at it the other night. I think St. Louis only lost two guys on that Cup roster. Pat Maroon being one, and one
Edmondson.
guy, Joel Edmonston. Thank you.
And because they brought his parents in last week.
Thank you. And
that's the only reason I had that on the tip of my tongue.
I was like, wow, when's the last time that had happened? Like, I people win the Cup, and then usually you lose two or three at least. They've only lost two, and Pat Maroon
was a big heart story.
Pat Maroon was a big heart story. I'm surprised he's still playing.
Yeah.
I thought he would have just went out on top, but hey, who the fuck am I to say retire?
But he went to the Tampa Bay Lightning.
He got a taste for it.
But that's the thing is, so, like, it's not like Pat Maroon won the Cup in St. Louis in that remarkable, incredible story of a season last year. It's not like he did that and then, like, fucked off to Buffalo. He went to what was, going into the playoffs, the best favorite team in hockey. And
the favorite for the last, like, 10 years.
And so that's the thing is, like, and that could be a smart move for Tampa Bay because, the thing, we talked about it last year when Tampa Bay lost and got upset really fast. They got swept out by Columbus. And there's, Columbus is in itself a fucking comedy of errors this year. But, one of the things that we talked about was, like, there was no guys with Cup rings in that room.
Yeah.
Nobody had that Cup experience.
Yeah.
And for Pat Maroon, to come into that room and be the guy who was part of that team that had that cup ring to kind of tell them how good it feels and how, like, to have him be that winning experience guy. I mean,
they also went out and added Shattenkirk. Like, they
and I just like I just always find Kevin Shattenkirk hilarious because it always makes me kind of think like, you know, like if you were going to refer to like his helmet and you were talking about Kevin Shattenkirk's helmet, my response to that would be, why did he do that? What did Kirk do to him? And I just find that hilarious.
No.
It is the most childish joke that I find way too funny.
Wow.
So yeah, Kevin Shattenkirk's helmet. It's like, why did Kevin Shattenkirk's helmet?
Lord.
Like, why did he do that?
I
find it hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
You've said a lot of things over the course of last year that I've groaned at.
That's fair.
I like.
Hey, can I bring up something? Actually, I'll wait.
Oh no! Let me have it.
Remember when you rolled your eyes at me? Remember when I said William Nylander was going to score 30 this year, and you gave me a look that was not just an eye roll, but utter disgust.
No, I do, because I was somebody who was very much on the William Nylander doesn't care enough train.
Buddy.
I was somebody who was on the William Nylander doesn't have that level of compete.
What does he have this year?
I thought William Nylander was I thought we were looking at a criticism Ovi got for a long time of him being a guy who was just in it for like the personal gain of it. Because for years, Ovi put up 50 goals and the team did nothing and he seemed to be okay with it. And then he won the cup and then you went, oh no, he really gives a fuck about this. This season is William Nylander's, no, I really give a fuck about being on this team.
Man.
And you can see that kid has taken the criticism and the shit that was thrown at him and has kind of buckled down and is kind of saying, no, I deserve the money that I'm making.
He's got the best team friendly deal on that. He's got the best team friendly deal on that. Well,
yeah, no,
maybe besides Freddie.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing was that we talked about the Nylander deal, and it was because it was so much hypothetical, and he was just a kid we talked about. And last year, he was
putrid.
He was terrible. And so you holding out, signing that deal, it seemed very silly. It seemed very silly to sign that kind of money, blah, blah, blah. But, you know.
One thing that's taught, I think, everybody, holding out into the season, nobody wins. Nobody wins.
No.
You're going to have, like, you're going to be put on blast for the first 20, 30 games of the year. Then you're going to come back and you're going to be a step slow for the last 40 games of the year, and nobody wins. So, however, I just... Even at the end of last year when he would show, because William Nylander's not a dude that shows signs of frustration, he would show signs of frustration that things weren't going right, things wouldn't work. And then I follow him on Instagram. His Instagram in the summer was a lot of nonstop working out and really a lot of funny hats and sunglasses, I guess, would be the other side of it. And I was like,
I really enjoyed making my Werewolves of London meme about him. That was kind of my favorite.
But he, just judging by the amount of work he put in last offseason and was like, kind of like, hey, this is what I'm doing when, you know, a lot of guys are at Coachella or whatever. A lot of guys that, you know, look like William Nylander or Coachella or whatever. He put in the work, and I was like, no, he's going to do it. He's going to get 30, and he's close. I think he's at like 27 now, 26.
Yeah, I mean,
he's out tonight.
He's going to do it. He's going to do it.
The Leafs are playing the Habs tonight. He's out. I believe he's got the flu.
Yeah.
Did the the flu was tearing through the NHL now.
I think more than anything is that, you know, 100 years ago, they had to cancel the Stanley Cup final because of an influenza outbreak. Guys died. And I think with what's happening this year with the coronavirus, people are just I'll say spooked. I think that people are rightfully so taking like flu-like symptoms a little bit more seriously, just because of the way things are going right now. And I think that's fine. Like, if he's not feeling well, he's going to stay out of it because, you know, I think that with, you know, a possible plague on the way, people are taking the flu a little bit more seriously. But he is through 53 games. He's 25 goals, 23 assists for 48 points. He is even in plus minus and has 8 penalty minutes.
Shit, I kind of spoke too soon. I thought he was a lot closer to 30 than 5.
He's 5 away, but he's got 30 games left.
Fair,
and he's on an almost point a game pace right now. Yeah. So
anyway, back to the your Bruins. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, and so no, it's just people are there's some people who hit panic mode about the Bruins.
So you think winning the President's Trophy is some sort of curse?
Some people think it is. I think though that they I don't think it necessarily is. I think some people. I think it was just it's something that's kicking around my timeline today, and I think it's just because Joe McDonald might have had a quota that he was supposed to fulfill to get an article about something into the Athletic. Because I think it's kind of a silly. I think it's kind of silly to be.
Who's your guy to add? They're obviously going to add someone there. Boston does a good job of adding. It's mostly forwards, and they usually add a forward every deadline. Who do you want to add?
I'm kind of back and forth because a lot of the focus has been on going to Chris Kreider.
Yeah, I saw that, and he's from there, and he's
and so
I think he resigns.
I think he does too, and that's what they're talking about right now.
I think that he got hit in the head there and missed a game or two, but I think that kind of helps him. One, obviously, no one's going to want to trade for a guy who might be injured or might be dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
I think he stays. I think he wants to be in New York. I think he's a great fit in Boston.
I think he is a great fit in Boston. I think when you look at what's happening with a guy like Charlie Coyle, who came over and is just having an incredible year, and just an incredible time in Boston. I think Kreider, in that respect, could he would be a good fit that way. He's from Boxford, Massachusetts. He is.
I forgot he was a local guy.
Yeah, he's from Mass. So I mean, there's some arguments to be made for why he'd be a good fit. I like him. It's I like him. I think I wouldn't complain if the Bruins got Chris Kreider.
Fair.
Because he's 4'6". He's a UFA. He's got a modified no trade. So he's got an 11 team list.
Yeah, you figure the hometown team is on there.
Yeah, you'd imagine. But he's the assistant captain there. 4.6. I mean, the question is though, is for Kreider, what are you losing? You're probably trading Dave Krejci.
You think?
I think that's what. And that's the thing is at this point, the Bruins are buying, and I don't think they want to do much selling.
I'll shoot a name
but they're super close to the cap, so they have to do some sell.
When I close my eyes and picture a guy he's not talked about much, but he's on the move. I think he's going to be on the move anyway. Blake Coleman from the New Jersey Devils, to me, just seems like he checks a lot of Bruin-based boxes. That's one guy. You mentioned Toffoli. I don't think he lands there.
They keep talking about him, and I don't know if it's just one of those things.
I think it's because he's the big. He's probably forward wise. The big piece is Kreider, and then the second big piece is Toffoli. But
it's just and there's been a lot. People keep talking. I had this whole thing with a couple of people on Twitter the other day about Taylor Hall, because Taylor Hall, even though he just got traded, his name is he's still a UFA, and the Coyotes are on a bit of a skid, and they're saying, okay, maybe we get rid of him again. Maybe we trade him straight out of town. And a lot, and this was something that came up in front of the show. Mark Allred, Mark's a good friend of ours. He put something up in the feed, and I started talking to him and a couple other people about it. And my thought on Taylor Hall is this: Taylor Hall is, I think, a Matt Duchene level of toxic player.
Jesus Christ!
I know. I don't know if he's quite Matt Duchene level on the because
for those of you who are unaware here, Mike has my hatred for Cody Ceci is warranted. Mike has an unbelievable axe to grind against Matt Duchene that I've been trying to figure out since we've been doing this show.
What you need to do is you need to try to find you can probably find it on YouTube, but there was a draft the year he got drafted. There was a feature where they followed him going into the draft, and you just watch that and you'll just go, oh, I fucking hate this kid, and then everything he did in his career ever since will just reinforce it. But again, with Matt Duchene, you look at what happened. He was in Colorado for a while. Colorado bottomed out, traded him out of town. He went to the Ottawa Senators.
Oh, yeah.
Colorado are now one of the best teams in hockey. Ottawa Senators were a goal away from the Cup final.
A goal away from the Cup final.
And Matt Duchene shows up on the team. They're in the basement. They are, Eugene Melnyk is the least of the problems at this point. Well, not the least, but he's like much lower on the list than he was a couple years ago. Then he gets shipped to Columbus. Columbus has him as a rental last year. He does, they do better than expected. They kind of coast through. They got a couple things happening, but they still get him the fuck out of town right away. They don't re-sign him.
Did they even offer him a contract?
I don't know that they did.
I remember reading that they didn't offer him a contract.
And I think that says a lot. And now he's in Nashville. Nashville, they have a banner for the as Western Conference champs from a couple years ago.
So
and he's in
one thing you're
Nashville,
missing,
and Nashville is like not hitting expectations.
He's with Kyle Turris in Nashville, and wasn't Kyle Turris part of the three-way trade to get him out of Colorado?
I think he was.
He was.
I think
so
he
now
was.
they're both in Nashville. Kyle Turris was scratched a bunch.
And so what I'm saying is Matt Duchene has a record of
he's cursed
of making teams underwhelm. Like he winds up, he's a hot ticket, and then he goes somewhere, and the team doesn't quite do what they're supposed to. Or in the case of the Columbus Blue Jackets, he does like pretty much exactly what he's supposed to, and then he just like leaves town.
And they don't return his calls. He wouldn't listen to the Habs, eh?
Yeah,
the Habs were all in on him, and they're like, nope.
And I think there's something to be said about Taylor Hall being the same thing. I don't think to the same degree, but I think what the issue with Hall is Hall put up he got an Art Ross or a Hart a couple years ago.
He got a
Hart a couple years ago.
The worst trade in the last 20 years.
But I think what the problem is with Taylor Hall, and this is again, I don't know. I'm not in these rooms. I don't know what it is. But what it seems to me to be is that if Taylor Hall isn't the guy, he's like a guy. If he's not your clear, like the guy you are looking to and all the pressure is on him, then he's not, he's somebody who will really step up if there's no one else to help carry the load.
There's one thing.
And that's kind of what it seems like to me because, he was in Edmonton, but Edmonton was like just racking up draft picks. He had a bunch of other first overalls with him. And he never really did exactly what they kind of expected him to. And Edmonton underwhelmed the entire time he was there. He gets shipped to New Jersey. He gets one really good season in New Jersey. Granted, he's been traded. He's been injured a bit and stuff like that. But again, never really hit what he gets. He gets moved to Arizona and they're ready to ship him out of town a couple months later. And
I think they're ready to ship him out of town because they might be dealing with, hey, we're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, but
for a franchise like Arizona,
a couple people are just talking about it and saying that maybe he hasn't had the right coach. He's had 7 coaches.
Yeah,
and the thing is I just think after that track record, it's like okay, there's something that's a little bit off about how Taylor Hall lands.
Do you remember? This is going to make me sound like an absolute I don't know. I don't think lunatic is the right word, but. Well, Jesus, why does he remember this so well? But the day that Connor McDavid got drafted, he put up a tweet that got absolutely flamed. That was like, congratulations, Connor. Welcome to the Edmonton Oilers. Now let's, try not to fuck up what we've built in the last 5 years. Or I don't know, try not to fuck up wasn't the term, but it was like, don't mess with what we've got built for the don't
it was like
and it was welcome to my team, you little talented virtuoso prick.
Taylor
type
Hall
of thing.
Taylor Hall
and the tweet obviously got massacred. They did play one season together in Edmonton, did they not, or did he get traded the summer that McDavid got drafted? They played one season.
I think
together,
they played one season together,
and then he got traded. I think the season the season they played together, Taylor Hall was injured for a lot of it, though, if I'm not mistaken.
The welcome to Edmonton, Connor. I found it, but I've just got to confirm it here.
I remember reading that, and I was like, what the fuck is this guy saying?
It's I'm just trying to get it to load for what And apparently it was very much a joke. That's the word. It's welcome to Edmonton, Connor. Please don't mess up everything we built this last 5 years. # future is bright.
I don't know. I saw that the day that the guy gets drafted. I'm like, that's weird. And like the fucking the McDavid stuff was like, I don't know. You had all those commercials of Mark Messier phoning him and shit like that. Yeah. Like that whole thing was like, that whole phenomenon was very strange. But I remember seeing that tweet being like, well, that's just dumb, man. That's just really dumb to say.
I think it was a good tongue-in-cheek thing. I think it was. I think it's hard to convey.
Taylor Hall was supposed to be the leader.
Taylor
Hall was supposed to be the leader of that team at the time.
Wasn't he the captain at the time?
I don't know if he was the captain, but I think Adrian Ferentz was the captain or something like that. Yeah, right, but he was supposed to be like a leader and the future of that guy until they, drafted another 2 guys first overall, and to make light of being a laughing stock franchise for half of a decade. It doesn't. I don't know. When I read that, I was like, Jesus Christ, what is this guy doing? What a clown.
I for one think it was funny, but
anyway, I would, if it was my team and I saw that, I would be like, oh, okay, so you weren't pissed off that we missed the playoffs this year?
No, it was Andrew Ferentz was the captain.
Yeah,
at the time.
I thought so.
And that's another thing is that he got drafted. Taylor Hall got drafted first overall in 2010. He was at the time, and I don't know if it was just because of the 1-2 of him and Sagan.
Both were traded.
I don't know by Peter Chiarelli.
Oh yeah, it was the same guy.
Same guy. I don't know if it was that 1-2 of them that got hyped up. I don't know if it was because we live in Canada and the Bruins had Sagan with the Kessel pick from Toronto. So because of that draft got built up and stuff, and it was like where they were going to land, if they were going to get Hall or Taylor or Tyler, and it was that whole thing. I don't know if that's why, but Taylor Hall has always been hyped to me as like he was in the 10 years between Crosby and McDavid, he was that like
middle piece.
He was that.
He was that.
If you're going to say there's that player every 10 years, he was that. He was literally the 5-year point. And he was the guy that was the bridge, like supposed to be this incredible franchise guy coming into the league. And he's just never lived up to that. But it was just to go back and say, a couple people are talking about the Bruins adding Hall as that's one of the things I've seen in the last week, and that was what me and Mark and a couple people were talking about. And I'm just saying I don't want to see it because I think that Taylor Hall has kind of brought about some underwhelming results anywhere he's gone, either from the team's perspective or from a personal perspective. I just don't think he's ever lived up to what he could be. I don't know if maybe it's getting in the right spot will help, but I think if you're on your 3rd team and 7th coach, then there's a point where you got to go, well, Taylor, maybe it's you.
Well, of those teams, I mean, he's on his 3rd team, but let's break it down here. Team 1, the Edmonton Oilers. in that era of Edmonton Oilers, the Edmonton Oilers era where they picked first overall 3 out of 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
That era of Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah,
you can't hang that all on one guy. Team 2, all right, New Jersey, he won a Hart Trophy there.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
But both are teams that, as much as we want to dismiss them and say the Edmonton Oilers the Edmonton Oilers have made a Cup final in the last
100 years ago.
No, but Cup final in 06 wasn't that long removed from him.
Oh, yeah.
And Cup final in 06, they've numerous cups in my lifetime. I know I'm a little bit older than you, but numerous cups in my lifetime.
One in mine.
Yeah, and so there's definitely like. There's a history there. The New Jersey Devils, again, another storied franchise who, as much as they brought about the most boring era of hockey, they're again a storied franchise who won a bunch of cups and had a bunch of success.
I don't think Jersey would have moved them if they didn't get off to such a
dismal start.
Yeah, like I don't think like going into this year, and they were buyers during the draft and shit. Going into this year,
they were ranked. I think I saw that Sean McIndoe put out a thing on The Athletic where he was ranking kind of teams and the fan base kind of frustration and stuff.
Okay,
and there was a point I think the New Jersey Devils were ranked 2nd overall in best management at the draft.
Yeah, like they were kind of
go well.
They were kind of going all in there and. Look, they got PK Subban, in my opinion, for a song and a dance, but unfortunately, the Nashville Predators.
But the dance is like fucking flossing. It's not a good dance.
Well, it's a song and a dance, but I don't know what it is about the Nashville Predators, man. But this time last year, I was ready to say, you know what? I might have been wrong, and Montreal might have won this PK Subban trade. Like, I might have been wrong here. Then Nashville goes and won. They got rid of the Shea Weber contract that they didn't sign. That was a matched offer sheet. They didn't want to sign that. They didn't want to pay him that. Whatever that is, they didn't. Contracts like that now, you have to give a sweetener for a team to take it.
Yeah.
So they got PK Subban. Not only did they get him, they got what might be his last 2 years of his prime. They come within 2 wins of a Stanley Cup. Then they flip him for futures that they never would have ever gotten for Shea Weber, period. Like, to me, it was like, this time last year, I was ready to be like, you know what? Maybe I was a bit wrong on that. Maybe that Shea Weber has had, because this time last year, Shea Weber's having a whale of a season. I know we had a shortened one, but Jesus, he had a great year last year.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck, maybe I'm ready to eat the crow here and say that they, Montreal won that trade. And then boom, the GM of the Preds was like, all right, I'm ready to move on from Subban. And he gets all these futures for him. And everyone's like, holy hell, I can't believe Subban went for such little package. I don't even think there's a first-round pick in there. I think it was 2 prospects at a second. And
now you have Shea Weber on the LTIR.
PK Subban is having a very, very bad year.
But Shea Weber is also under contract in Montreal, making $7.8 million through 25-26.
You know what's funny about that? He could retire. He could retire tomorrow.
Yeah.
Montreal's cap doesn't have a thing. Doesn't get dinged. Nashville's does.
Yeah.
And it's funny because Nashville didn't give him that contract. Philadelphia Flyers did. Insane. That was an offer sheet. That was a matched offer sheet. Yeah. So that's why Nashville wanted to get out from that contract. They didn't offer it to him. So that's why, like, pretty much, like, one of the storied things that it came up with Sebastian Aho. Like, when you match an offer sheet, there's like an 80% chance that that team is eventually going to trade you. Yeah. Might not, like, when that happens, and the Shea Weber one was one they brought up, and even like the day after he signed that, because Nashville wasn't really the hockey hotbed it kind of grew into under the Subban thing, but the day he signed that Philly one, and they matched that offer sheet, everyone was like, they're going to have to move Shea Weber. Yeah. They're going to have to move Shea Weber at some point. And they did, but man, they turned it around. They trade if Subban is done and like his trajectory is down, a lot of people have pointed to like he's changed his off-season regimen from doing a lot of like CrossFit stuff to just strict powerlifting, and his mobility has been impeded by this. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not a personal trainer, but all I know, whatever the fuck he's been doing the last 2 off-seasons has not really helped him grow as a player. It's a pretty big drop-off. And if he's done and they got the last 2 years of PK Subban's prime and came that close to a cup, that goes down as like a huge win now.
I think it's quite clear Dave Poile knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Say what you want about the questions around Laviolette this year and just how quick they kind of moved on from. I mean, it was still like 4 or 5 years we talked about, but it still seed like a quick time for him to move on, considering how patient he's been with coaches in his career. But
how patient he's been with Barry Trotz.
Well, no, it was he's been a GM for something. We talked about this. He's been a GM for something like 36 years
wow.
Between
I know Barry Trotz was their coach for fucking ever.
No, he was. But Dave Poile has been an NHL GM for he's like the only GM in Nashville history. And he was a GM of the Washington Capitals before that. So he's been a GM for the better part of like 10, 20 or 36 years or something like that, between 2 franchises. And in that time, he's only on like his 5th. Yeah, he was the GM of the Washington Capitals from 82 to 97, and then he's been the GM of the Nashville. He's been an NHL GM since 1982.
Those 80s Capitals were bad teams, man.
But in that time, I think he's on his 5th coach.
Wow.
And so he's a guy who is notoriously patient with coaches. And so that's why I said I thought the flip of Laviolette seemed a little bit weird, all things considered.
Hockey's a weird, like, So last year,
there's a Wikipedia list, by the way, of list of Nashville Predators general managers, and it's just Dave Poile.
That's pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
That's actually pretty funny.
It's super funny.
Hockey's strange. It feels like last year where the St. Louis Blues fired Craig Berube in January, and then they went on a burner. It feels like a bunch of teams did that just because that's what happened last year.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, the Vegas Knights. What the hell was that?
I don't know.
My God, they were working on
Gallant's still.
He's going to end up in Detroit. But anyhow.
But I mean, he's still, yeah.
They were working on an extension. 2 weeks before they fired him, they were dealing, there was back and forth with his agent and the GM for a 4-year extension. And then I think they dropped 3 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. Then they can him? My God, what a...
I mean, after
I think it's because, we're cooling off, and it's a competitive division. Look at that team that fired their coach last year, and they fucking won the cup. We got to get on board with that.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that I don't know if, again, we can talk about the anomalous kind of turn of the Vegas Golden Knights and how the way they were positioned as the first expansion team in this kind of cap era of the NHL. They're also the only team in NHL history to kind of have a single expansion draft to themselves this way.
I've got a take on them.
And so there's all these things. I think it's that they're the only team in the expansion draft. It's never happened before where there was a single team just free to kind of take whoever they wanted.
We're gonna do it next year too, I think. But
that's what I'm saying is I'm kind of shocked. I was just going to say I'm kind of shocked that the NHL and the NHLPA have kind of just agreed to kind of let the CBA kind of roll through because I was convinced that there was going to be some push back and forth about how the expansion draft is handled because the Vegas Golden Knights were able to just walk in, take whoever the fuck they wanted, and walk to the Stanley Cup final.
Here's my take on Vegas. There's a line in a Hey Rosetta tune that just says it'll never be that good again. And I think that first year where you go out and you pick up a bunch of guys who your message is clear. Look, they didn't want you. They didn't want you. We want. And I literally think for the Vegas Golden Knights, they might be close or knocking on the door or whatever you want to put it like that. But in terms of that first year, making the Cup Finals, for a long time at least, it will never be that good again. I don't think it will be, and I
like
how
you managed to also sneak an Arkells reference after kicking that whole thing off with.
It was Hey Rosetta.
No, but you still managed to get that knocking at the door.
I didn't
thing
even happy accident.
Yeah.
I just don't think, and I don't know if that can be. And all eyes are going to be on Seattle to replicate that. I don't know if it can be replicated.
I don't think it can, and
because a lot of teams. Well, one, you've got to deal with the fact that for the first time in a long time, you had players, you had millionaires in their early 20s going into Las Vegas to do a job.
So there's a couple things there that I think are a little bit different.
What are they going to do in Seattle?
No, but I think there's a couple things that are going to be a little bit different. One is that you've got the Vegas hangovers. Teams, I think I saw a record too where it's not just the Vegas record, it's teams playing road games after Vegas on a road trip their record is just dog shit. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's 35 and 100 or something.
The first time they sent the Leafs to Vegas, it was New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's just.
I thought there'd be guys not showing up for the game, man.
Yeah. But the other thing is so Vegas has that advantage of that's their hometown, and it's a hell of a hometown to have people come into and just be like, well, Buzz, what do you have to, the game is one of the least concerns for a lot of these guys, especially the first season where there was a bit of a novelty to it. We're in Vegas on a work trip.
Yeah.
And a
lot of work gets done in Vegas on a work
trip. Seattle's not going to have that. The other thing...
They will for Tyson Berry. He's a big Pearl Jam guy, so the first time he goes to... he's going to flip out.
But Seattle's not going to have that. And the other thing Seattle's not going to have is the benefit of being that first time through this. And so the thing is that now that the expansion draft with a single team in this cap era where you can just get rid of guys and without buying them out, you can just let them be open to the draft, goalies, whatever it might be. Since all that's there, teams have learned from how it happened with Vegas, where I don't think anybody expected that even with, oh, we're going to make someone so safe. Like, you knew that they were going to get Fleury, but you didn't know that Fleury was going to just, like...
You didn't know they were going to have to give him a pick. Like, they had to give him... So, essentially, Pittsburgh's like, yeah, they're probably going to take Fleury. The GM was like, we're not taking him. You got to give us something to take him. So they had to give him, I think it was a 4th or a 5th.
Yeah.
They had to give the same thing. They took a guy from Florida, and who they got from Florida to take him, I believe, was Carlson, Wild Bill. I think that's how they ended up with Wild Bill Carlson.
Yeah, because it was Marcia show.
Yeah.
I think they got them in a package deal. Yeah. But that was the thing is so they put together this ragtag team that had nothing to lose and everything to prove.
Yep.
You had
James Neal was there.
Unfortunately, there was also, and I say unfortunately because I mean there was a shooting, like a mass shooting, that happened just before the season started. That just gave that team also, it's one of those things that when a tragedy strikes a city like that, there is undoubtedly a sense of community that comes out of it, and the team had something to kind of want to do for the city, is like by not just going out and being shit-hauled by everybody all year. They had not only something to prove to themselves by being a bunch of outcasts.
Is Derek Engelland their captain? Was he named their captain?
I don't know if they
He's
have a
from
captain.
there.
I don't know.
Yeah, he was from there too. I thought he was.
I'm not even sure if they. Like,
I don't think they do have a captain, but I remember like the like that shooting took place maybe 4 or 5 days before.
He was a
he was like their ceremonial captain. And
he
it was
was
like 4
for a
or
lot
5
of
days
stuff,
before
they've never
season kicked off.
They've never had a captain. They haven't had a captain in their.
They're supposed to have a 3rd jersey coming this year, and I haven't seen anything on it yet. And I'm pretty excited. We're getting late in the season here.
Yeah, for a
3rd debut. I don't know. Maybe it's not coming, but
anyway, but just to get back, because of all what I'm saying is that there was a lot of things that added up for the anomalous perfect storm that was the Vegas Golden Knights making it to the Cup final in their first season. I don't think the Seattle Kraken are gonna.
Oh, you're calling them the Kraken?
I'm just doing it as a joke because apparently it leaked that it's the head-on favorite. I don't know if I like it. I'm not a big fan of sports teams having pluralized named. I like it. I like the S's. There's something about it. It's
Seattle Mustangs. Seattle Thunderbird would be nice, but
there's
Thunderbirds.
Yeah, Thunderbirds would be all right. I think
Mustangs is my pick.
Mustangs
That's my dark horse.
there's a bunch of options and stuff. I think it is probably at this point Kraken. But I don't like it because it feels too much like a.
Is there even a fucking ocean in Seattle?
Yeah, they're on the Pacific.
Oh, okay.
My
geography's not good, eh?
Clearly, but it's one of those things where it's just like Seattle Kraken to me feels like it's a fucking XFL team. It's
the XFL started today.
I know, but it feels like an XFL team. It feels like like the Seattle Kraken to me feels like a team name that you would get in a video game where you play hockey, but they couldn't license NHL
Mutant
teams.
Hockey League for the Sega Genesis.
It's Blades of Steel. It's one of those like they couldn't license the NHL team, so they made up fake ones, and that's what Kraken to me feels like as a team name.
I don't think they go with it. I think it's
Kraken or Kraken?
I think it's Kraken. Kraken that's how I pronounce it.
It's a Pirates of the Caribbean reference.
I've never seen.
It's a mythological creature. I can call it what I want.
I've never seen the Pirates movies.
It's in the first one. It's really good Kraken. First or second one has a really good Kraken line. But yeah,
they're Kraken jokes, you could say.
Yeah.
Paul Schaefer, everybody.
One second. Woo! I just tossed an index card. If anybody cares, I need that index card back.
Yeah, our tight notes are on that index card.
This is a stack of empty blank index cards that I keep on my desk that I haven't written anything on.
Your desk is looking mighty clean today, eh?
I'm trying. Well, I've had a lot of time to clean it over the last month while we had 10 days off and shit. But anyway, I don't think Seattle is going to be. I don't think Seattle is going to have...
The secret's out, too. You got coaches going in saying, listen, they're ready for us. It's not like we all thought last time it was going to be a joke and they were going to be terrible. They're ready for us.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I think it's a fool me once, shame on you thing. And I don't think Seattle is going to have as easy a time as... not to say the Vegas Golden Knights had an easy time, but it seemed that way. But what I was basically saying is like... there's a lot of things that management system did that made them seem really smart, and especially like with all their cast-offs and bargain basement players they were getting out of this expansion draft, they were still going and being like, well, you want to get rid of this guy anyway, so like give me something else for him too. And like all this kind of shit. And it seemed like
McPhee is the GM there, correct? George McPhee?
Yeah.
I feel he is. I feel the quote was in like December.
No, he's not.
He's not. Who was
he
the
is
GM?
not. It's Kelly McCrimmon. It was McPhee.
Yeah, it was for that. Yeah, McPhee is. It was McPhee for the draft situation.
Yeah, and McPhee is now the president of the team, right?
His quote was, anyone who wants to talk to us about the expansion draft, this was in like December.
Yeah.
We're open for business. Call me. More or less saying, like, this is what I expect to be taking from you. He also came out and said that...
I like that they're on their second GM, but still on their first... They still haven't had a captain, but they're on their second GM. They're also on their second coach, but haven't had a captain. And I think it's ironic, too, that, like the Gallant DeBoer debacle happened under McCrimmon. It happened... it happened as soon as kind of, it was like one of the first main moves that they made. As soon as the kind of the shift happened in their GM, not long after, like this was a major move that McCrimmon made to just be like, I'm not George McPhee, and people are like, you should try to be George McPhee.
You should probably be George McPhee.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting reading about George McPhee, speaking of him, was he talked about after the expansion draft, he talked about how frequently they had the exercise of having a mock draft internally during that season, and it was like at least one a month leading up to that whole, like one a month the whole season of them going through and having a mock draft.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a lot of, because like I don't even think the fellas that cruise and patrol HF boards were having them that frequently, man. Like that is a lot of mock drafts.
It is a lot. It is a lot of anything, really. And this has been a lot of talk about.
Yeah, no kidding. What are we at here?
We're a little over 2 hours,
all right.
And I don't know, like I don't know where else to go, man. We talked about. I mean, I'm still kind of weirded out by this Vegas. The moves that they've made have just. They're just weird to me. I understand the Sharks getting rid of DeBoer. I don't understand getting rid of Gallant.
I'm telling you, man, it's that weird galaxy brain thing that had happened last year in St. Louis, and maybe why not us?
And I think so. And I think that so many teams were making coaching changes, and now for various reasons,
it's a trickle down effect.
It's a trickle down, and it's just like, kind of one of those. Do we think the grass is greener? Like, do we think that
the fact that it's Pete DeBoer though, like Vegas has only been around for 2 years,
and that's
they've got one rivalry. They've been able to in this time they've been able to naturally manifest one rivalry,
and they stole
and they go and grab that coach.
It's kind of
I don't know. I can't imagine being a player on the Vegas Knights and you find out that Gallant gets fired, which is like, wow, Jesus, really? And Christine Simpson was working the game. This is a good one I picked up on 31 Thoughts, the podcast. Christine Simpson was working that game, the Vegas game that was on Hockey Night in Canada leading up to that, and logged onto the Vegas website just like last minute before they hitched a flight, and saw that there was that headline. Mm-hmm. So she phoned, I think, Elliot Friedman and said, like, do you have any contacts with the Vegas Knights? Because I think their website's been hacked. which I was like, yeah, that'd be about the same. Like I saw it on Twitter and I was like, well, that's obviously a fake account. Then I saw the verified. I was like, whoa, Jesus.
Yeah, but like, Aaron Ward was a verified account.
Oh, I wouldn't know. I was blocked for 100 years. I said one thing about him hating Newfoundland, and he fired me 20 DMs and then blocked me.
Did he really fire you a bunch of DMs?
Man, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I think a bunch of Newfoundlanders got after him for something. Yeah. I was one of them, and it all went crazy.
Who knows? But on that, I think we're gonna.
I think we're good.
I gotta do some cleaning up. We got Tabooza tonight.
Brendan Dillon is my guy, and I will accept no one else.
All right. Are you coming to Tabooza? I'm trying to get you on the record recorded.
I'm gonna try to beat the Tabooza losing.
Dude, So
it's Leafs and Habs night, man.
Yeah, I know, but we can watch. We're gonna have a TV on at the house.
I've
So
got
for anybody who doesn't know,
plans.
we just do. Me and my wife have been throwing this party. She was throwing it long before we were together. I think this is probably the 10th or 11th Tabuzalooza, where it's a bunch of our friends come over. We live very close to a very large sliding hill, and a bunch of our friends come over, get loaded, and then go sliding.
How many injuries?
I don't know if there's been anything.
Wow.
I don't know if there's any on the books.
I'll tell you this: if I come, there's no chance I'm going anywhere near a Tabuzalooza.
I don't know. I mean, it's going to be tricky. We got a lot of rain yesterday.
Yeah,
so
I went.
There's
I did
supposed to have been some flurries, so we'll see what happens. But
I went to my folks. My folks have been.
I said worst case scenario, we hang out at the house and drink. It's not like,
I went to clear some snow there. My folks been out of town for 10 or 11 days, and boy, it's not snow anymore. It's the first time I had to use a sledgehammer to clear a driveway. Yeah, it was. I got some looks in their neighborhood because I went there immediately after I left the gym. So I'm in like my sweats and an oversized hoodie with a sledgehammer, and they're like, "Can I help you?" I was like, "Yeah, no, I'm just clearing my dad's house for when he gets back into town." They're like, "What's with the sledgehammer?" And I was like, "Oh, this is nothing but ice." Dude. Yeah, it was a scene.
Yeah, gross. Also, if anybody noticed, I forgot to actually throw to sponsors at any point during this 2-hour just rant we've gone on. So they might have come in at various points rather abruptly. Because I still had to put them in there. I just forgot to say it. Now a word from our sponsor. But yeah, so they probably shut up. And but anything else you want to? You're good?
Well, I'm good. I think if you've made it this far,
thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for tuning in, as always. If you've missed us, thank you for missing us.
I'm Mike Hickey at Hickey, Mike on all this stuff.
I am Charles Pickett at Smokes Indoors on all the stuff.
Terry is at Terry Ryan 20 on Instagram, 2020 on
you got it backwards.
Yeah, it's
2020 on Instagram
because vision and it's a visual medium, and he didn't even make that as a deliberate thing, but I noticed it, and I still fuck it up. But he's Terry Ryan 2020 on Instagram, Terry Ryan 20 on Twitter.
He's probably on the ice right now.
We are. If he's not, he's definitely in the room with his fucking boombox going. We are at 3MI Podcast and all this stuff, but chances are you knew that if you're listening this late into things. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's so good to be back. We will be back again very soon with some other stuff to talk about and shout out at you about hockey. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Bye.
The worst crowd.